Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of What If Naruto Joined ANBU Black Ops After Academy. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 23. Rooftops of Konoha with Naruto and Angel. Two figures streaked across the tiled roofs of Konoha, one an undersized ANBU, and the other an oversized cat. Chakra pulsed through their legs and eyes were razor sharp. Around them the roofs were filled with other shinobi, each headed towards their own assignments. The swarms of shinobi thickened as Naruto and Angel reached the far side of the village towards the forests surrounding the prison. Already the blonde could feel the dark aura of hostiles, his senses augmented to the max by a bloodthirsty Kurama. The fox was itching for battles. Four familiar chakra signatures enveloped around the pair as the rest of Ro joined in, Tenzo taking point. Yugao and Deidara were flanking left and right while Hikari took the back, Hidakigon no doubt active at intervals. Mouse were assigned the furthest sector to catch any runners and the perpetrators. Tenzo signed quickly turning to face the team. Naruto nodded in affirmation and moved towards the back with Hikari while Angel took to the branches above. Captain, capture plan? Naruto signed, coughing to get Tenzo's attention once more. The Hokage mentioned killing and making them hurt, but he had 20 prisoner scrolls just in case. Yugao answered with a blunt remark. For prisoners, try to capture unless deemed too dangerous. For the attackers, no survivors unless they surrender when we find them. Prisoner scrolls that wouldn't be used, apparently, as more than likely the criminals would attempt to fight back. Understood, senpai. He dutifully replied. Just then Hikari clicks to draw attention and signs. 6 hostiles, 300 meters to the left on the ground, fleeing in our direction. 4 more, on the right converging towards us. Without prompting the 5 ANBU and Hellcat jump higher into the canopy. Moments later the two groups Hikari had seen meet up in the middle amongst a small break of the dense foliage. Naruto strained his eyes as the full moon dipped behind clouds. He could make out the various forms of the 10, the group of 6 containing 2 mountainous men. On my signal mouse Tenzo signed when the moonlight returned and Naruto instantly produced 25 clones of various ANBU masks to hopefully intimidate them into surrendering. Tenzo gave the mark, and as one row landed in a circle enclosing the startled criminals. You have broken out of Konoha's prison in a futile attempt at freedom, surrender or die, Tenzo said monotonously, like he didn't care one way or the other. Several of the prisoners looked intimidated by the show of force and tone, and 2 started raising their hands in surrender. Until a familiar silver-haired prisoner spoke up in a soothing voice. Fujin Raijin, remember that Orochimaru-sama has an endless supply of food waiting for you. Food. The 2 now identified giants groaned. Yes. Food. But first you must take down these pesky ANBU who would take away your food. Mizuki pointed to the trees. The brothers saw red and roared. No, take our food. Brother. The slightly bigger one shouts and they charge, uprooting the tree Tenzo was in and swinging around. In the chaos several clones popped, and the once frightened prisoners gained angry expressions. Hey! That there ANBU was just a clone. One, a man with an eye patch and missing teeth, shouted. A woman next to him sneered. Yeah, let's take him, I bet there's only 1 or 2, and I used to be an Iwa Chunin. We can take then. She boldly declared, and the rest of the group charged at Ro, who were by then hopping to various trees. Naruto kicked a branch flying near him away and followed a nervous-looking Hikari to another tree. Tenzo and Yugao were busy, 7 of the prisoners ganging up on them and Deidara above them. Shit. Shit, shit, shit. It had to be them. Hikari cursed. At your 6. Naruto tilted his head as he made 2 chains to wrap around the eye-patched idiot who had split off from the attack on Tenzo and Yugao, trying to sneak a sword jab at the blonde skull. Naruto decapitated the man with his sword cleanly. Those brothers Fujin and Raijin are infamous for being almost as strong as Tsunade-sama. They killed their teammates for food right before I made Jonin, their capture was what led to my promotion, but damn were they horrible to take down. The Hyuga explained. So how do we take them out on? Deidara inquired, clay bombs bombarding the brothers to no effect. He couldn't resort to more artistic ones in the forest though. Because they're coming for us now, he deadpanned and pointed to the two giants jumping up with raised fists. The trio of young ANBU dodged the attacks. In the air as they spun to land safely, Hikari spoke his plan. Chibi Koha, I've seen you make a ton of chains before. Channel Kurama and strengthen them, binding them to the trees or ground. Pyro Koha. He looked at Deidara as they landed near an irritated Tenzo who was kicking two of the escapees away. Deidara turned his mask. After I block some of their pressure points, blow them to pieces, and we'll put out the fire afterwards. Truth was Hikaru wouldn't take the chance of anyone getting hurt by the bastards that killed one of his genin teammates before Hikaru could take them out, mostly due to their orders to capture alive and them drawing the battle out. They needed to die as there wasn't any way to control them, not with their leader of sorts that promised them food already escaping according to his Byakugan. No, Hikaru decided they'd take out the brothers before chasing down Mizuki and Angel who was on his tail. With pleasure on. Deidara cheekily responded. Naruto made the chains, but they were batted away. Heave. Brother, this is fun. Fujin clapped. Raijin gave a grin in response. Of course it's fun, Mizuki said this would be. Raijin said while taking a racing gan with a finger and flicking Naruto away. Naruto, cursing, had 30 clones poof into existence and mobbed the brothers. This time the chains easily wrapped around the pair as they were slow juggernauts and were focused on the other blondes weighing them down. His eyes glowed red as Kurama let his chakra seep through slightly, turning the chains a sickly purple and strengthening them. Glad that idea worked, Naruto sighed in relief at Kurama. The fox huffed. Of course it worked, the great QB said it would. My chakra augments your puny human chakra. Naruto had argued that Hikaru's plan would fail, but Kurama had vehemently argued it would work. Ignoring the boasting, Naruto focused on maintaining a struggling tangle of chains. Hikaru dived forward, gentle fists aimed for paralyzing points throughout the body, enough chakra in his palms to kill most normal shinobi. In a flurry, the genius Hyuga hit 12 points on the brothers simultaneously, before jumping back a safe distance. Heave that tickles, brother, Fujin giggled as various spots were hit, though with his size the meaty man was only partially paralyzed. These ropes are hurting me, let's throw them. And the massive man pushed against the chakra chains, before grabbing them, Raijin doing the same. They spun in a whirlwind, the chains becoming a purple and red tornado. Naruto yelped as his chains and subsequently him were yanked forward with such a force, and he was flung through the air. Immediately Naruto summoned multiple clones that encased around their creator. As he landed into some tree tops amongst the clones, his first thought was, last time, I'm letting Hikari pick the plan. He groaned, already feeling his cracked rib healing. Inside, Kurama snorted. Nice move there. It looks so great on you to be defeated by two numbskulls. Kurama mocked sarcastically. Naruto rolled his eyes as he jumped down gingerly, intent on making it back to Ro, who were bound to be nearby. Instantly, Kurama became serious. A vile chakra is near, charging right, kit. Was the only warning Naruto got before crystals of various sizes erupted from the ground. A woman with a dull blue or purple ponytail sneered at the ANBU as he backflipped several times to escape the path of crystals. On her back was an all too familiar scroll. I hope you give me a better fight than your comrades. The kunoichi mocked. Their blood didn't sate me. She flared her suffocating killing intent and chakra, baring her teeth. Naruto ignored the mocking and stared at her through his mask with a mixture of determination and nervousness. Kurama. I know, this one is powerful. Don't go easy or you'll die. I know. Ready for one hell of a fight? He asked his furry partner, vicious grin in place. Kurama sent a matching mental one back. You know it. Her strange abilities are nothing compared to the great Kurama. Crystal style, crystal needles. Was all Naruto got before facing down a volley of pink crystals glistening as they raged towards him. This is going to suck, Naruto muttered and prepared to use all his prowess to survive and retrieve the scroll, red cloak surrounding him. With Mizuki. Mizuki grinned evilly as he ran deep into the forest and away from the two idiots he tricked into stalling the ANBU Black Ops. Soon I'll be in Odagakure with Orochimaru-sama. There I'll be recognized, not as an outcast, but as a hero. Stupid demon brat, making me rot. I'll come back to kill him and minus. Pain racked the traitor's body as life left him via enormous jaws wrapping around his jugular. Ha, puny human that hurt Naruto. I hope the Shinigami eats your soul 1,000 times over. Angel spats down at the body of Mizuki. She knew who he was from Naruto, and killing the one who betrayed her partner was satisfying in a euphoric way. However, her satisfaction was short-lived as a burst of a familiar chakra filled her bones. Naruto. The young Hellcat gasped and charged full speed in the direction of the chakra's origin, leaving a mutilated ex-Chunin in an undignified heap on the forest floor. With Ro. Hikari cursed himself as he not only felt his Konoha best friend's chakra in a quick burst, but also grimly took out several shinobi with various headbands. Deidara was back-to-back with him, waves of various clay bombs creating holes where hearts used to be. His captain bound another 3 effortlessly. Dance of the Crescent Moon was called behind him and Hikaru's Byakugan witnessed 7 escapees being sliced to pieces. Fujin and Raijin were among the now piles of dead, victims of Hikaru and Deidara unleashing an overkill of exploding shadow clones, and a lightning-coated kunai. Hikaru rarely used his only chakra-conductive kunai, but seeing the monsters who threw his Konoha half a mile away scream when the knife penetrated their skulls was well worth it, claims that he was cruel for it be damned. Wolf, Fox go get Mouse and meet at Section 5B. Tenzo ordered as he ran through hand seals, summoning an earth tsunami that drowned 3 missing ninja. Hikaru nodded and the duo took off, Deidara creating a clay bird on the fly. With Kakashi. Kakashi was not in a forgiving mood. The squad of missing shinobi that lay dead at his feet were proof of that fact. 3 of the prisoners who had fled cowered near a large oak, their light garbs torn in multiple places. Kakashi sent them an eye smile radiating malice. I don't suppose any of you are thinking of running, ni? The Cyclops Jonin asked. All 3 shook their heads furiously. And no, a reed-like man stuttered. His portly friend started crying. That's good to hear, Kakashi praised. Now, how would you 3 like to march back to prison like the adorable criminals you are? We'd like to go back to our cells now. The 3 chorused as they started walking back towards the prison. Hayate coughed a chuckle from above as he followed them in the shadows. Kakashi watched them go before sending a flare in the air to signal his area was clear, then turned to the other member of his temporary squad. Genma, I think we're done here. Genma snorted as his leader attempted to take out a familiar orange book. Nope, we're to head back and get another zone. Kakashi gave a long suffering sigh but followed his comrade. However, the Cyclops became deadly serious when he felt it. Sending a quick prayer for Naruto's safety, and a mental promise to chat with Tenzo about endangering his little brother once the ordeal was over, Kakashi picked up the pace. With Tenzo and Yugao. Moments after sending the younger members away, Tenzo focused on a spot in the trees. You can come out now. Hiding from a Byakugan is quite an accomplishment, especially for one so young and not raised with the clan. But hiding in a tree means I can see you. However, you should be proud, Sai. Stepping out of the shadows was a pale-faced boy, hands in the air, and fake smile plastered on his face. At Tenzo's nod, Yugao used a shunshin behind the intruder, placing a kunai at his throat. Sai didn't even flinch. Tell me, what's a root agent such as yourself doing out at this time of night? Tenzo asked. Sai met his hidden gaze with unfeeling ones. I'm not here to speak with you, kitty, but with one above you. Who? Yugao demanded and pressed the kunai deeper, drawing a trickle of blood. That's enough, you two. I think my little spy has been spooked enough. A disembodied voice echoed from above. Back with Naruto. Akira hit a tree hard before dispelling back to the clan. Naruto had summoned his panthers and tigers to provide the backup, but his enemy was able to bat them away like flies. The last one standing, Hisoka, landed next to him in a crouch, silent question in the eyes. I know, Hisoka. It's those pesky crystals, they've even made a dome. Stand back for now. Naruto ordered and reached for two of his chakra-conductive kunai. Naruto darted forward in a zigzag-like pattern, summoning 100 clones that wove around him, creating a confusing mass so that the woman in front of him couldn't pick him out. That won't work, crystal style, tearing crystal falling dragon, she called after forming two hand seals. Rising from a tree and connecting to crystals in the area, a ferocious dragon roared, diving into the mass of ANBU clones. Naruto smirked from behind his mask as he vaulted off of a clone's shoulders. You know this is insane, right? Kurama commented. Naruto grunted. Yeah, just send me more chakra, Naruto shot back. Landing on the dragon's snout, three tails waved proudly in the night as Naruto dived the kunai into the eyes, hoping to disperse it like what happened to his water dragons. Instead, it just ticked the chakra beast off as the kunai became stuck and made crystals form on his shoes before he could jump away. Crystals continued growing until the blonde unbuckled them and tossed the shinobi sandals aside. He hit the tree opposite of the dragon and pushed off it, landing near the kunoichi. The crystal dragon curled tightly around the woman before shattering and reforming as two crystal spears. She smirked at the ANBU and made a come-at-me gesture. Naruto used 3 shunshuns to appear before her, his sword pressing down with Kyuubi-laced wind chakra. The crystals shattered, and Naruto clicked his taunj when he managed to graze the woman's shoulder as she dodged. TSK, those crystals can't handle some chakra. With Garen growled at the kid in front of her. She wasn't expecting the Kyuubi Jinchuriki to be the one she had to fight. From what she knew of his kind, even a child was dangerous, if the bubbling on her shoulder was to be believed. She had to kill the brat now, though to let him live could spell trouble for Orochimaru-sama. The two combatants locked eyes, Naruto summoning a purplish Rasengan and Garen slamming her fists into the ground, crystals spiking out once more. And so, I have the rest of the chapter almost done, but it won't be ready until this weekend at the earliest. So, I had to cut off at an awkward place, mainly because I'm also editing what's keeping Deidara and Hikaru away. Also, fight scenes are really difficult, so I wanted time to go back over the climax of the Naruto vs. Garen scenes. Also, I had a treat for y'all that has a deadline of tomorrow. Make an ANBU Halloween. Konoha day before Halloween. The streets of Konoha were decorated with leaves and decorations. Naruto walked down the street in a henge, carefully darting his eyes from each passerby. He had even sent Angel to hang with Tora to further throw off his pursuer. Gotta make it to the tower, ask for leave, and run far away from him, Naruto thought to himself. I happen to quite like that scarecrow's idea. Kurama sniggered. Shut up. Naruto stammered and continued his flight. Meanwhile, Kotetsu and Izuo were at a nearby dango shop stumped. Kotetsuo? How can we be the coolest villain trio without a third member? Izumo moaned. Kotetsu sighed. I don't know. Naruto's ears perked at the mention of needing a third member and used a shunshing over, dropping the henge. Yo, what's the problem? He asked with a masked grin full of hope. Kotetsu groaned. We're supposed to be Team Rocket for the Chunin and ANBU Halloween parties, but we have no Meowth. Izumo finished. So got anyone in mind? Naruto thought hard. He was tempted to volunteer, but a brilliant idea struck. Oh, I have someone in mind. He sniggered. With Deidara and Hikaru. The destructive duo were lounging in their teammate's apartment, Angel and Tora nearby in sunbeams. Two of my subordinates lazing around. Boo, Dragon said from behind the pair. Hikari and Deidara squealed in fright, jumping up and latching onto the ceiling. Dragon teased. I need to run more situational awareness classes. Dragon-sama. What are you doing here? Hikari asked. Dragon just reached up and pulled Deidara down from the ceiling. Just grabbing my mini-me, Kakashi Bako will cry with envy when he sees how my mini-me project succeeds when his failed. Mwahaha, Dragon chuckled, and used a shunshin to take a still-stunned Deidara away. Hikari stared forlornly. Well, at least Chibi Koha left some noodles in the fridge. Too bad you'll be too busy to eat them. Tenzo chuckled from the doorway, grabbing the Hyuga and dragging him away. When all the humans left, Angel opened an eye. Want to go terrorize some genin? Miu. Ooh, your mind is truly devious. Halloween night, Chunin party? You can't be serious, Naruto. I thought you meant Angel, not this. Izumo gestured wildly in front of him. Tora yawned at the foolish humans in front of her. Naruto had assured her they'd feed her fancy tuna though, so she'd play this Meowth character. As she pawed her forehead, hitting the strange orb, Tora began wondering if it was worth it. Naruto patted Tora on the head and placed her on a frozen Izumo's shoulders. There, now be sure to feed her, Jessie. SSSS, sure thing, Naruto. Kotetsu stuttered, and they turned to the party. Ah, now time for phase 2, hiding in the forest of death till dawn. Naruto clapped his hand only to freeze when a familiar hand clamped down on his shoulder. ANBU/Jonin party? Various ANBU agents were mulling about in a diverse range of costumes. Hayate and Yugao became a shinobi version of Bonnie and Clyde. Lizard had risen from his records tower to depict a mummy, complete with a tomb. And Hikari, the Hyuga, was trying to hide behind the concession table, gripping the sides with his teeth as his arms were hidden. Too bad Tenzo was stronger. Come on, quit being a baby, Mini-Me. Mini-Me, my Byakugan, I refuse to be humiliated. Hikari shot back. Tenzo sighed and raised a leafy hand to his face. I can't be Sudaudo without a bonsai, you should be honored. Now let's go, the costume contest is soon. Tenzo scolded. In all his glory stood Tenzo in a Sudaudo outfit, his face sticking out with his headband engraved with a pokeball. Having no arms free to grab onto something and teeth being too far away from any table, Hikaru was dragged towards the stage of ANBU, fighting their laughter at the pair. With Dragon and Deidara. Are you sure about this? Of course, trust me, it makes life worth living. Now, follow my lead. At the Chunin party, all activity stopped as two dark figures appeared in a flash and smoke, dark chuckling following. As the smoke cleared, a black-clad man and a teenager with green tights, red shirt, and black face mask appeared. To protect the village from devastation, the black-clad one started. Pissed that's the wrong fandom, the red-shirted one whispered, much to the onlookers' confusion. Shut it, and just follow the script, or else Konohamaru duty for a year. To unite, all shinobi in our nation. Here the duo pulled out nightshade flowers. To denounce the evils of paperwork. To extend our reach to every quirk. Dragabat man. Robin boy. Team Dragon shunshins off at the speed of light. Surrender now or prepare to cry. The teen finished lamely. As the crowd stared, Deidara wished he could cry in a hole. Dragon wore his traditional robe, only his mask had monstrous horns along with tall bat ears. Overall, terrifying in the dim party lights. But Deidara was in spandex. Hey! You stole our gig, bastards! Izumo cried. Go Tormoth! Attack! And thus Deidara was used as his commander's human shield from the demon cat of Konoha. With Naruto. I hate you. I love you too. I hope the Shinigami curses your soul. Thank you for the blessings. Curse you. With the Hokage and Konohamaru. Hiruzen Sarutobi watched in pride as his grandson went door to door collecting candy in his adorable puppy costume that Hiruzen picked out himself. The pout on the youngster's face was just a bonus. His good mood ended as one foolish villager handed out apples. Hold it in the name of the Hokage. Unpackaged treats are banned for safety. Hiruzen yelled, much to a young honorable grandson's embarrassment. Sorry Hokage-sama. The random villager no one would ever think about again apologized. And finally, back with Naruto. And now from the top. My Grand Kashi, what a big eye you have. And do we really have to do this in the middle of Konoha? Better to see you with, my dear. And of course, that's what makes it fun. Fun to who? And Grand Kashi, what tall locks you have. The correct term is fun to whom? And all the better to practice braiding, my dear. Bastard. And Grand Kashi, what big kunai you have. I can't see your teeth. Naruto deadpanned. Kakashi waved his kunai in the air. I'm a lady, little red fishcake hood, and ladies are not bastards. And all the better to murder you, my dear. The crowd that had gathered around sweat dropped at the sudden dark turn, including a sighing Tenzo with a gagged Hikaru. Those two, I swear. Why can't they just do a normal duo costume? He asked aloud, ignoring Hikaru's deadpan look. Meanwhile, a Kakashi dressed in wolf ears and silver tail chased a screaming Naruto in a red riding cloak, red and white dress, and picnic basket around the stage. Chapter 24. With Hikaru and Deidara. The most dysfunctional duo of ANBU cursed as a pink barrier blocked their way. They had arrived moments before, only to be blocked by the rising dome. Who put this monstrosity up on? Deidara gripped as yet another clay bomb blew up harmlessly against the crystal barrier. Hikari, the Bakugan straining under his mask, was unusually serious. I would guess it's the woman currently fighting Mouse. Her Kekkei Genkai seems to let her manipulate crystals and harden them beyond their natural state. Not even my vacuum palm makes a dent on the surface. Deidara glanced at his partner in a bit of shock, not knowing how to react to a Hikaru that displayed his in all actuality genius intellect. Well, what now, Deidara managed after a moment. Deactivating his Bakugan, Hikaru grunts. We can't use your higher level explosives, else they backfire shards of crystal shrapnel across the woods. What we need is something blunt to hit the barrier, causing a ripple effect forcing it to fall down instead of out. Never fear, the valiant Drea is here. A booming and egotistical voice shouts, drawing the pair's attention. There on the ground below, sat the toad sage atop a mountainous toad with his shield in all his glory. With Naruto and Garen. Another crystal dragon flung the youngest ANBU up into the sky. Naruto grunted as instead of sky, he collided with a crystalline barrier. Falling back down he made a hand sign, and two Biju augmented chains snaked around the dragon. Water-style hidden mist jutsu, Naruto said, creating a thick fog to cover the area. If only I hadn't followed Hikaru's plan, Naruto muttered while he made his way to the ground through the mist. I could still be with my team, but no, instead I'm fighting a psycho who has a fascination with razor-sharp jutsu-created crystals and can aim better than Hikaru. I don't even know when she had time to make this enclosure. Shut your whining mouth and finish this. And the female mortal created our prison while you were charging that Rasengan. Naruto sweat dropped at the implied reprimand for not noticing, and turned his attention back at Garen. Drawing another kunai, Naruto let a fourth tail of chakra erupt from his backside. By this point his muscles were burning and his stamina was running low. Kurama, any idea how to end this now? Her chakra is running low as well, and that shoulder is festering. One more hit will end her, but we have 5 minutes until my chakra tears your muscles apart. Naruto nodded mentally and used his augmented limbs to jump high in the air away from a mirror that appeared just in time to avoid their attacks. However, in the air another mirror materialized above the blonde, the real Garen appearing. Die, you brat, Garen breathed. Crystal style, Shuriken wild dance. Needles of crystals gathered around her and rocketed out at high speeds. Naruto spun, dodging the majority, but one flew in his blind spot and embedded itself into his abdomen. Jua! Naruto screamed as pain engulfed him and Kurama's chakra receded, one of the seal's many safety measures kicking in. It was designed to give someone a means to subdue him if he lost control. Too bad Orochimaru's henchwoman stumbled upon this advantage. Falling, Naruto forced himself to stay conscious through the pain and yanked the shard out, his healing factor already beginning to heal the hole. He needed medical attention though, and soon. Managing to land upright behind a tree several meters from the real Garen, Naruto wrapped a bandage around his middle the way he learned, grateful for the field medic lessons he took. Come out, little fox, I want to rip your mask away and see the fear in your eyes when I drain your life from you. Garen taunted confidently from where she herself had landed, the mist adding an echo to her voice. Naruto kept his breathing steady, aware that she too was tired, and at this point it was a battle of who could summon one last attack. He had to make this count. The Andy jumped up, crouching in a tree and watching Garen. Praying his plan worked, he shakily made the hand signs for an almost instant kill shot. If it hit. Wind style, drilling air bullets. Naruto summoned before lurching as the ceiling came crashing down. With Garen mentally cursed herself for using as much chakra as she had, using the last drops of her energy for the mirrors and crystal shuriken wasn't smart. Even as she taunted the brat, Garen couldn't back it up with action. She was down to one last jutsu before she collapsed, and escaping with the scroll was more important than the Jinchuriki. Garen could just slaughter him during the invasion. Mind made up, she prepared a mirror to leave and grab the scroll from its hiding place when she felt chakra gathering above her. Wind style, drilling air bullets. Was called as the world shook, her crystal barrier crumbling from above. Back outside the dome moments earlier. Hikaru cursed when he heard the voice of Drea. Many people assumed Hikaru was a happy-go-lucky idiot, one who got along with everyone. While he wouldn't deny he enjoyed being lighthearted, Hikaru was extremely protective of his team, not trusting those who hurt them. Drea topped that list, even if he was trying to make up for it. Drea Sama, the Hokage greeted tersely, staring down from the bird Deidara had conjured up for them. Do you have anything that can help? Drea ignored the tone and grinned. Why, of course. Gumikin, let's show these brats how it's done. I will try my best, even if I am rather clumsy. Gumikin launched using his powerful legs and drew his weapons. Exploding Sasumata attack. Toad oil bullets. Drea called simultaneously. Sasumata and oil crash into the crown of the barrier, a deafening explosion ringing out. Instantly the crystals shatter and fall, cascading in an unceremonious heap. Hikaru and Deidara swoop down without a second thought while Gumikin puffs away, leaving a falling Drea to wonder why nobody took a moment to praise his feats before following. Back with Garen. Garen closed her eyes at the sight of three enormous balls of chakra-laced wind barrel towards her. I guess this is the end, she thought, only to feel scales encircle her. Eyes peeking open, the kunoichi spied her master, standing atop a snake, summons expression coy. My little Garen had too much fun. We'll talk about your punishment for almost failing the mission later, but for now rest. Were the last words Garen heard before exhaustion overtook her. With Naruto. Crap. The snake bastard. Naruto thought frantically as his attack was absorbed by the snake's Sannin summons. The traitor had risen from the ground and protected his adversary. Now, as the snake-like eyes bore into his masked ones, Naruto knew he was screwed. Being blown to the ground from the backlash, the young ANBU resembled a mouse about to be eaten. Just then his team, his friends, landed protectively in front of him. Naruto was conflicted about feeling relieved to see his senpai or terrified that they would just die alongside him. Hisoka appeared from a shadow as well, teeth bared and hackles raised to make him appear twice as massive as usual. Kukukaku, you certainly are an interesting one, Naruto. To think the failure Jinchuriki is actually one of Sensei's personal lapdogs. And to have two fools guard you along with a kitty, how enigmatic. Kukuku, we'll meet again, but for now my fun must end. Don't die in the meantime, alright? And with that, Orochimaru, the Sannin, left in a plume of smoke just as Drea and Angel appeared from opposite ends, Angel just missing ripping out Orochimaru's throat. Naruto sighed in relief, feeling his eyes drooping to oblivion. With the others, a few tense moments pass after Orochimaru and Gurren disappeared before Hikaru finally spoke. Well, now that we can breathe again, time to heal you up, Chibi Koha. Hikaru announced cheerfully, back to his old self. Deidara's sweat dropped at the sudden shift. He was quite liking the serious side of Hikaru. He went over to help the youngest member of their team when he realized a dried patch of blood soaked his middle and his head was rolled back. Hikari. I think he's passed out on. Hikari jolted out of giving a victory sign at the fact they technically chased away a Sannin. Crap. Hang on, I'm coming. Hikari said frantically, hands already glowing green. Angel and Hisoka kept watch while their partner/summoner was patched up, each vigilant for any threats lurking in the shadows. Drea joined them moments later, looking awkward and worried. And once again my life is a failure, letting my teammate escape after his henchwoman injured my godson. Neither feline said nothing, staring off into the darkness, their own thoughts plaguing them. Several hours later, with Naruto. Naruto blinked blearily at the sunlight in his eyes, wondering why it felt like Kurama was sitting on his chest. Gaki, if the great Kurama, was sitting on your chest, you'd be squished by my amazingness alone. Kurama. You're back. Naruto smiled mentally, his mask unable to hide the obvious joy. Receding into his mindscape for a moment, he sat in front of the bars, giving his Biju friend a thumbs up. Why are you smiling, you insolent worm? You let yourself get impaled in the center of the seal. If you didn't have amazing healing ability on your own, you'd minus, and more importantly, me would be dead. At least I was able to heal you all the way. Technically you're fine now, but we could have died. Yeah, but we lived, and that's what's important. Well, if the scroll wasn't taken, that is. Naruto finished sheepishly. Kurama scoffed in reply. While you slept, I kept the connection to your ear open. The silly scroll was saved, and that girl you dream about is resting her head on your arm. Naruto instantly woke back up and looked down. Sure enough, Yakumo slept peacefully on his arm, snoring loudly. His eyes then focused downwards. Angel, Hisoka, Deidara and Hikaru were sprawled across Hikari on his legs while the various felines lounged on his chest. Deidara had his arms wrapped around Hisoka's tail. Well, this is awkward, he said weakly. Guys. Hey. I need to breathe, Naruto protested, only he found himself being drowned out by Hikaru's and Yakumo's combined snoring. Ro was given the morning shift of babysitting the Kurama heiress, as we killed or captured 3 times as many prisoners as any other team, as well as prevented the scroll of seals from getting into Orochimaru's hands. That tiger even summoned your panther. They're all just resting. Good job. Tenzo spoke from a perch on the window, his uniform torn with grime from the night before. Yugao slept in a chair by the door, in the middle of cleaning her sword. Oh. Naruto managed with a sweat drop. But I let that Gurren woman escape. He mumbled in shame a moment later at the memory. Only because Orochimaru interceded. Learn to accept praise where it's due, Naruto. You did well. Naruto nodded sheepishly. A yawn drew his attention back to Yakumo. Naruto. You're up. The brunette greeted happily, hair disheveled. Naruto chuckled and nodded. Go away, Roachtem. For the last time, I refuse to help you open a roach circus. Deidara mumbled in his sleep. The 3 awake shared a quiet chuckle that made Naruto wince. Yakumo winced back in sympathy and began prying the felines off his chest. Akira was easy, as she just snuggled into the crook of Naruto's underarm. Angel was also easy, moving in a sleepy daze to crawl under Deidara's hair. Hisoka. Well, the tiger just purred and refused to move. Hisoka. Hisoka, wake up. Naruto pleaded. The large cat woke up and gave him a side-eye glance. Thank you, and Akira could go sleep somewhere else. I need my chest. Hisoka stared impassively for a moment, resembling a cow, before giving an affirmation. Picking up a still sleeping Akira, he left in a puff of smoke. Yakumo looked a bit embarrassed and held out a book. This is for you. She dropped it in a heap on his lap before rambling. The hospital was all out of flowers and I couldn't just visit without a gift even if you are all better for some reason, so here. Naruto blinked and read the title. Anything puny, impress your friends and enemies with witty puns straight from the land of fire. He looked up at his friend looking everywhere, but him. Thanks, Yakumo-chan. This will be great for my collection. Maybe I can use these to give a certain furry friend a sense of humor that doesn't revolve around impaling jokes. Giving her an eye smile, he opened it, missing the blush that slightly pinkened the girl's cheeks. Oh, Kurama. Look what I have for you, Naruto mentally sung. In your darkest nightmares, mortal. The fox huffed. His human partner rolled his eyes and closed the book. Chibi Koha, you're up. The Hugo on the squad lifted his head, drool flowing down. Naruto stoically ignored the droplets landing on his leg, thinking of all the payback he could give his senpai for it, starting with a rude awakening. Oh, senpai. I just remembered that the exterminator is planned to visit our floor today. He trailed off as Hikari had already jumped out the window screaming about his babies. Yakumo looked ready to die laughing. I didn't think you were serious, but that Hugo is very unique. She managed between snorts. I wonder when Wolf will realize the exterminator isn't scheduled for another week. Dragon said dryly from above Naruto's head, appearing from nowhere as usual. The enigmatic man chortled and shook his head. No matter, Mouse report. I want to know exactly what that kunoichi can do, and how she hit you while you had 4 tails. Tenzo was already escorting Yakumo out with Yugao, who had woken when a crow landed on her head, pecking her. Naruto took a deep breath and began, knowing it would be a long day. Yes, sir. It began when ANBU Agent Wolf's plan resulted in me being catapulted away from the rest of Ro. Chapter 25. Konoha Hospital, 30 minutes later. Yakumo looked at Naruto in a bit of shock, who in turn gave a sheepish grin. The two preteens were alone after the report, as Naruto had ended up telling the heiress exactly why he was in ANBU at such a young age. So, yeah. I'm our Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, who attacked our village, even if it wasn't entirely his fault. If it makes you uncomfortable, I understand. It's fascinating, Yakumo interjected, looking at Naruto in curiosity. Fascinating? Naruto asked, beginning to feel like a prized experiment under the girl's gaze. Yes, fascinating. I read in a book about Jinchuriki and how all the major villages had one or more. When I asked if Konoha had one since we fought the 9 tails, my parents slapped me and sent me to bed without dinner, claiming Konoha didn't need demons to be on top. Naruto winced. But of course they were ludicrous claims, as it is clear that tailed beasts are chakra constructs, not actual demons. Naruto whipped his head up, eyes locking onto hers. You mean you don't think I'm a demon boy or something to be avoided? He asked. Jinchuriki, even those not hated, were generally avoided by the civilians in their village, both for village security. Anyone could be an assassin, and because of how disconcerting it can be to be around a human capable of wielding almost endless destruction. Yakumo snorted at this. Of course not. And if I was used like a glorified chakra pill for hundreds of years, I'd take my revenge on the puny mortals too. She stated haughtily. Marry her. What? Naruto mentally sputtered, only to hear Kurama sigh in contentment. Her taste and presence need work. This mortal gets me. Marry her, Nijin, and have generations of chaos-loving babies that would do my bidding. Kurama cackled, causing Naruto to sweat drop. We need to discuss your tastes in humans. Naruto. Hey, fishy cake? Yakumo asked in concern, causing Naruto to blink and get back to reality. Huh. Oh, sorry. Kurama the QB minus. The one and only that matters, mortal. Was having a lapse in judgment. Anyways, you don't mind still being friends. I suppose we can still be friends. But, she held up a finger and stuck it in Naruto's face, dead serious. Only if we go to this Ichiraku ramen place soon. Sure thing. In fact, we can go, Naruto began excitedly, only to be interrupted by his captain. Some other time, our mission has arrived, and Ferret wants his charge back. Tenzo popped in, Ferret materializing on the ceiling. Of course, Captain. Naruto said dutifully, and caught the scroll with an extra uniform. Ferret jumped down and used a shunshin on himself and Yakumo, no doubt heading to the new safe house already set up for the heiress. Within moments of Yakumo leaving, Naruto was already changed into his uniform, mouse mask firmly in place. With a nod, he and Tenzo set out towards the gates, Kurama growling at the ominous feeling that traveled down his spine. In Onigakure, Orochimaru didn't know whether to kill every subordinate in sight to ease his frustrations or chuckle in dark glee. So, he settled on both, leaving the Sound 5 and Garen to watch from the sidelines in morbid fascination as 3 of the surviving Odo nins from the attack were ripped in half as payment for their work. 10 more fell before Orochimaru stopped and stroked his chin. Kukukuku, little Minato's child is a shinobi ANBU in fact, and he's learned his mother's chains. It was always a pity I couldn't have that insufferable loudmouth Kushina when she was alive. Her bloodline was downright fascinating. But alas, no time like the present to rectify that mistake. Garen! He shouted. The kunoichi, still wrapped in bandages from her fight, and out for blood, kneeled in front of her master. Yes, Orochimaru-sama? She asked in slight nervousness. The missing nin turned pseudo-cage chuckled. Calm yourself, my little crystal user, you managed to copy the Edo Tensei Jutsu down for me before the fight, a good thing too, or else I might have found myself too curious about what makes your bloodline work. The threat hung in the air, and even Kimimaro couldn't keep his brow from sweating. But no matter, while I am taking care of Sensei, I am almost certain that Uzumaki Jinchuriki will be in charge of dealing with Gaara. You and Kimimaro will capture him alive and bring him to me. I'm certain that as long as I hand him over to my old associates when I'm finished, all should be well. Yes, Orochimaru-sama, both Crystal User and Kaguya intoned. But, Garen. Yes, Orochimaru-sama. I wouldn't fail me again if I were you. Of course not. The kunoichi said before leaving off to do her research. She had to find out everything possible about those insufferable chains and Jinchuriki chakra. As Orochimaru watched her go, he started back to his temporary job as Keisuke. After all, his clone couldn't keep going forever. Just you wait, Sensei, I will destroy you and that pitiful village. Team Row, Konoha Gates. Mouse, cat, fox, go above the gate. Wolf, and I will greet. Tenzo signed, receiving nods. Naruto crouched in one of the many hidden ledges on the great gates of Konoha, neck bristling as the sheer feeling of his fellow Jinchuriki washed over him. I told you it's disgusting. Why do I feel such bloodlust? I've told you how Shikaku drives his hosts insane. This is the result. The host is only sane when he soaks his sand with blood. Naruto noted the tint of regret in his partner's voice, but decided to not comment. The 3 children of the current Keisuke walked through the gates looking important, yet the older pair were meekly behind the youngest. Naruto watched in fascination at the scene, remembering to be ready to activate the barrier seal Drea had set up at a moment's notice. One could never be too careful with foreign shinobi, especially ones of Gaara's character. Deidara had a half-dozen clay spiders ready for deployment, while Yugao spun 5 shuriken, each one deadly accurate if need be. Welcome to Konoha, papers please, Zabaku-san. Kotetsu greeted, ever the carefree personality. Naruto rolled his eyes as he could see Izumo preparing to pull his friend away if a wall of sand shot out of Gaara's gore. Temurai the small red head spoke, a dead monotone to match his teal eyes. The kunoichi, moving quickly despite the large battle fan attached to her back, handed Kotetsu the papers. Thank you. Please behave in the village, and ANBU team will be watching over you until the exams start. Hikaru, eyes no doubt activated, and Tenzo appeared in front of them, tall and intimidating. Temurai and Kankuro were about to protest, but Gaara beat them to it. If they get in my way, I will kill them, he said, and walked slowly down the street, siblings following. Naruto locked eyes with his captain, who seemed to shrug. Follow in shadows, we won't interfere unless they attack, he ordered, and soon all 5 members of Row became shadows in the August sun, blending into the background of a village, unaware that a living embodiment of what could have been their own scorned Jinchuriki walked amongst them. Dragon and Hiruzen. And you're certain the non-shinobi haven't a clue about last night? Sarutobi asked his ANBU commander, puffing a pipe to ease his stress. Shizui took off his mask, looking more tired than ever, and took the pipe for himself. I'm certain, Hiruzen. The barrier around the civilian and visitors section of the village blocked the chakra from being sensed, even mouses. It was smart of you to have that fool put them in place years ago, he commented. Sarutobi gave a side-eye at the stolen pipe. Yes, well, I knew letting potential spies and civilians be able to sense the vile chakra of the Kyuubi would be suicide should Naruto ever had need to use it to protect the village. Or if he had accessed it during the academy, the Hokage added in a mutter. Shizui snorted. With how much you stalked him with your ball? Before anyone pushed him too far, you would have appeared, standing over him like a mother hen. Perhaps, Sarutobi admitted, then swiped back the pipe. Hey, I was using that. My boy, you're too young to smoke. The one-eyed Uchiha scoffed. And you? Why, I'm too old not to. And finally, Danzo. It's time Sai make sure the Uchiha survives the exams. Orochimaru wants to mark him as his next pet for that pipe dream of immortality. Let him without being obvious and hand him this scroll. I'll need him to save Konoha from itself. Sai clenched his jaw slightly, but agreed, leaving to meet his sensei. Watching the boy go, Danzo waved a hand and a root agent appeared. Be prepared to take out Sai should he fail. This is your first time back in the land of fire, but I know I don't need to question your loyalty to that thorn in my side's brother. Of course not, Danzo-sama, the shadow said. Danzo Shimura nodded to himself. You have been my most loyal recruit after Torun and Fu Takashi. If only the rest of your clan were so. Perhaps they'd still be with us, protecting the great tree, instead of just eyes serving Konoha's rise to power. The new Uchiha clan lives only for Konoha, Danzo-sama, the newly identified Takashi said in reverence, and left, leaving just a scheming old man behind. Chapter 26. Within the shadows of the village, Team Row stalked the Sand Trio constantly over the following days, switching out with Hawk's team at night. Kakashi popped in from time to time, only to be scolded by Tenzo for abandoning his vulnerable genin he was supposed to watch. Currently such an encounter was happening. Tenzo, Sasuke is perfectly safe with Guy Squad. Kakashi defended in sign, giving an eye smile in the cramped tea shop rafters, Sand siblings drinking their beverages below in the abandoned shop. The place had emptied after Gaara let his Sand rise up and kick a customer out of their seat. The poor man had to be escorted home by a pair of Chunin. He was so frightened. Naruto and Yugao mirrored each other's eye rolls. Besides, as Mouse's sensei, it's my job to make sure he isn't nervous about his first Chunin exams. Kakashi attempted to pat the blonde on the head, only to be stopped by a vine. A masked Tenzo gave the Cyclops a ghostly look. Senpai, I suggest you leave. Ni, Koha, I mean no harm. Kakashi signed in an equally ghostly way. As the argument continued, Naruto could have had a shuriken flashed in his face without reacting, for the battle in his head was fierce. Kurama, stop. Just leave me alone, I'm on duty. Naruto mentally shouted. Oh, I'm sorry, but I can't leave you alone, we're kind of rooted to one another. The giant fox replied in a deadpan voice, Ever since Yakumo had gifted them the pun book, Kurama had become obsessed despite his original protests, much to Naruto's surprised chagrin. Please, I'll do anything if you stop. We can take an assassination mission if you want, or ask to be stationed in Kiri for a month. Come on, that would satiate your bloodlust, right? The blonde begged. PFFD, you're barking up the wrong tree, Gaki. The great Kurama tree demands more blood than that to be properly watered. Naruto went slack-jawed for a moment, unable to respond due to shock. Wait. He sputtered, you think you're a tree now? Kurama I. Naruto's rant was cut off by a painful cuff to the head. Blinking, he saw Yugao with her sword drawn. Gucci, she signed, I didn't want to get my sword dirty. Stay alert. She ordered. Naruto nodded, and noticed their target, and subsequently his team were moving north at a civilian pace towards the academy. Kakashi had sauntered off somewhere, probably to scare his team, Naruto realized. The first exam was set to begin in an hour, and around them the various teams were beginning to converge onto the building, ANBU squads alert for potential sabotage or spying. The senseis were being kept in a separate part of the village, supposedly to stop any outside help, but all the Konoha Chunin and up knew that Illa censor. So far Dragon's planning had paid off, but the real test would begin should the Illa teams pass to the third round. And that's why Ibiki was in charge. Naruto and the rest of Ro ghosted their psychopathic charge and his siblings after they reached the examination room, perching in a room that had a hidden window into the classroom below. Hawk's team gave haughty salutes as they materialized nearby, with Kakashi's and Kurena's teams entering the crowded room. Hawk, your team can leave. Ro is capable of handling security. Tenzo signed. To which the entirety of Hawk's team gave the bird. And miss out on prime genin suffering. Not to mention our bets. Not a chance, Tiger. Hawk signed in mock offense. Hikari scoffed, but held a retort at Tenzo's hand. Of course not, Hawk. Why not have another bet? After all, your squad is looking after the Hyuga girl and ours the Uchiha in the Forest of Death. Why not make a little wager? Tenzo said, whispering in a mocking tone. Naruto and the others perked up. Bets in ANBU tended to have extreme amounts of collateral. Sure thing. Kitty Hawk retorted. What's the wager? Whichever team reaches the tower first wins. The losing squad has to take any mission the other team desires. Any mission at all. The words hung in the air. The stakes were high, for any mission meant they could be sent on anything from an S-ranked war mission to the horrid escorting of the fired daimyo's wife. For a moment, it appeared like Hawk would not take the bait, that he would be the better man and stop the childishness. Naruto held his breath. He's definitely going to fall for it and take the bait. Kurama quipped with a pun. Naruto scoffed. Yeah, right, fuzzball. Captain Hawk wouldn't dare take that bet when we have the team with a root agent in Uchiha that has a Sharingan, and Sakura most of all. Captain Hawk is going to minus. You're going down. Hawk whispered, and the pair shook on it. Ha! I knew that foolish human would fall for it. Take that, Gaki, I told you so. Naruto kept a clear mind and ignored his furry tenant, focusing back on the room. The blonde and Kyubi repressed snorts as Sakura and Sai kicked Kiba in the groin and nose respectively after the dog boy tried a pass at the pink-haired Kunoichi. It was time, he noticed dryly, as Ibiki and the Chunin made a dramatic entrance using the chakra smoke to the max. Ibiki complained every day about Anko's excessive entrances, but Naruto began wondering as he watched if it was just a cover for the scarred Jonin's own love for the dramatic. Or it could be the prospect of destroying Genin, who could say. On the floor. Ibiki gave a cruel grin to his new playthings. A dark chuckle rose as he increased his killing intent just to get the point across. The head of T and I didn't actually relish destroying the Genin's confidence much. But orders were to run them hard. And Ibiki was a stickler for the rules. Listen up, pathetic maggots. I am Ibiki, your host. I'd like to welcome you to the Chunin exams. Here he paused for effect. The entire room of genin save Gaara, and a few veterans, gulped. And to tell you to have happy nightmares. With a mad cackle the room erupted in a powerful knockout gas, and the genin started falling like flies. Back with Naruto. Hikaru swung his arm around Naruto and Deidara, a bag of popcorn materializing. So, think they'll actually fail the Iwa genin? Hikaru asked happily. Naruto sighed. Senpai, you tell me, if you were an Iwa genin, he'd be executed for his stupidity, Deidara interjected. Would you pass this test? Naruto asked, ignoring his fellow blonde. Good point. Popcorn? Finally, back on the floor. Gaara stood emotionlessly, his siblings on the ground, unconscious. A nervous Chunin approached with a clipboard, fully aware of how dangerous his job was. You Sabaku-san? PP, please come with me. The young man asked, clearly wondering why he let himself get promoted to Ibiki's division at 17. Will I get to kill people? The insomniatic teen inquired threateningly. The proctor was about to say of course not, then looked at his chart. Better them than me. Well, that's your prerogative, sir. Very well then, I must prove my existence. Gaara consented and followed, bloodlust thick. Chapter 27. Konoha Chunin Exam Rooms, First Round. Sakura and Sei's team. Sakura blinked at the blinding light, resisting a groan from grogginess. However, the vague recollection of being drugged sprung the genin into action, reaching for scalpel and kunai as she crouched, before cursing as she realized all her weapons were taken. Sharp eyes darted around to take in their surroundings, a classroom, the very one she used to hide out in to read fantasy novels before. Sakura's eyes rested on what made her blood run cold. Sai, her teammate and almost friend, was bound and hung from the ceiling, a strange purple seal on his forehead. Despite the situation, he stared calmly back at her, always the stoic shinobi. Shoot! The Reaper poison seal. But why would Sai have one? Sakura wondered, before a grunt drew her focus to behind. An Iwa genin was glaring back at her from the same position, the purple seal angrily glaring as well. Get me down from here, Konoha scum, before I kill like my parents killed your kind in the last war. The enemy male barked, struggling against what Sakura recognized as chakra rope's expensive binding that kept the target's chakra at civilian levels of usefulness. In other words, useless. Just then a paper floated down lazily with a tiny needle taped on, its message able to turn the feisty former fangirl sheet white. This needle has enough antidote for one person. You have until the Reaper poison seal disappears, then they die. Choose. Allow the enemy to die by poison or let your teammate die. Try to leave without choosing, and all of you will be forbidden from ever becoming Chunin. With the message in an angry red, prompting her to choose, Sakura did the only thing she could do. Oh yeah? This petty attempt at a loyalty test won't stop me, cha. The up-and-coming medical prodigy screamed at the ceiling angrily, fist shaking with wrath. Meanwhile, with Naruto, sitting in an observation room amongst other ANBU, sweat dropped at his former classmates' response to what would technically be an ANBU absolute loyalty evaluation. Of course, in ANBU, they actually wanted the enemy to be killed, no mercy to other villages and all that, not just left at the mercy of a fake seal. The masked blonde shuddered at the memory of Dragon happily recounting his own absolute loyalty test. This particular one, however, was taken down after his father was killed, as failing to save a teammate even if it was just a fake poison was deemed too traumatic when they really just needed bodies on the ground in the wake of Kurama's wrath. Not my fault you humans can't survive a little pat from my tail. Kurama scoffed. Naruto bristled at his partner. Shut it, buzzbutt. In what universe could Antone survive a tale of pure malice slapping them miles away? Or a Bajadama at point blank? Good point. Now quiet, sapling. The great Kurama is trying to photosynthesize. And Nani? Naruto thought incredulously. He was tempted to check himself for genjutsu until Kurama gave a mental head pat through the seal. Shh. Mouse, quit spacing out, it's prime entertainment. Hikaru whispered next to him, looking at the screen of the Genin rooms giddily from behind the mask. Ooh, next up is the Uchiha team. This ought to be good. A random ANBU added from another place in the room. Sasuke Uka's room. Sasuke Uchiha was having a no good very bad day. Why, you may ask? Well, if he had to put it into words, the biggest annoyance for him was the two kunoichi staring back at him as he was tied up and feeling rather ill. I demand you let me down. He grunted. It was much less haughty than Sasuke BS before Sakura. The last Uchiha had learned his attitude had consequences amongst women, and kunoichi were the worst of them all. If I get out of this alive, I'm never marrying a kunoichi screw having strong children if it means I die at every mood swing. The two Kumo genin tilted their heads at what appeared to be a no-name genin demanding them one the former Kage's great niece and the other part of the Yatsuki clan, Kumo's most loyal clan since the village's founding years. Giving a side-eye to her teammate Yuzu, Yatsuki smirked. Ni, Saki? What should we do with him? I mean, he is rather rude for a clan-less genin. Yuzu asked her standard Kumo shinobi attire, proudly carrying the symbol of her clan. I'm not a nobody. My name is Sasuke. Here Sasuke stopped his indignant retort as he had foregone his clan attire for the exam at Naruto's suggestion. The Uchiha still shivered at how the blonde had woken him up at 2 a.m. over a week ago with a ghastly face illuminated from a flashlight and a demonic voice. Flashback. Hello, Sasuke-chan. Lovely evening, isn't it? Sasuke balked at the sight before him. Naruto, looking worse than a demon with his mask pulled down and teeth bared, was talking as if they were old friends who bumped into each other in a shop. What the hell, Naruto? You can't just barge in here. And a piece of paper with a seal was slapped over Sasuke's mouth, and he suddenly couldn't move or speak. Listen here, Sasuke, Naruto said softly. The Chunin exams are not a time to be an Uchiha for your sake. I would suggest going as just Sasuke, not Uchiha. If you choose to not listen to my friendly suggestion. Flashback end. Sasuke just shivered at the threat that had followed, not noticing how it was a sign of fear to the Kumo genin in front of me. The newly named Saki simply rolled her eyes and pulled her short plain, chocolate hair into a messy bun as she thought about the note. I'm instructed to get the other part of the code from this kid. It wasn't on him when he was knocked out. I have to get the code for Yuzi's sake. She has to pass this. Saki thinking back to the note that she still hadn't shown her teammate. This is your team. Each of the others are in possession of 1/3 of the password for the door. The door will only open for one person to get through. Try to fit everyone through and you will all be barred from being Chunin ever again. So far I have my code 127 and Yuzi's from when she was still asleep, 721. Now for this Sasuke kid. Making a decision, Saki chopped her teammate's neck, making sure the now sleeping girl crumpled to the ground safely. With dull eyes that hid intelligence and loyalty, Saki turned to the one with supposedly the last piece to the puzzle. I'm going to say this only one, give me your code, or I will strangle you with the rope you hang from. Tell me where you hid yours, as I've checked everywhere on you. Sasuke glared back, missing the connotations of her last statement. I don't have any code, Kumo trash. So. The hard way then, whatever it takes I guess. Cracking her knuckles, Saki inched towards her opponent. With Team Sound and Gaara, the still psycho Jinchuriki. Gaara stared at his note impassively before turning to the two Oda genin, both terrified. Your codes. He intoned with a hint of bloodlust. Dasu and Kin, two known spies of Orochimaru, felt their knees quaking at the demon they were supposed to be working with. Here Gaara-sama. We only have one part, the other is missing. Dasi said. Kin had given her slip of 127 instantly, but Dasi himself had no such paper. Give me the code, or I will feed you to mother. The Jinchuriki promised as Sand rose up. Kin, ever the more tech-savvy one, took one look at the door, however, and gasped. Wait, Gaara-sama. She begged as sand was wrapping around her. I can prove to you why you should keep us alive and why we will all pass this round together. You let us alive, and I can help you have more people to kill than just us two. I'm listening, Gaara finally said, the last rational part reminding him he had a mission to complete. Despite all appearances, Gaara knew when to listen to orders. Killing things was much easier. To have technical allies dangle a carrot in front of his, or rather his mother's, bloodlust face was too good to pass up. Why, you see, there is no third code. In fact, those numbers are meaningless. The 3 parts are our chakra signatures. With Naruto sick of just sitting and watching for entertainment, Naruto carefully landed next to Ibiki, who was observing each room intently, taking detailed notes. Ibiki-sama, may I ask a question? Naruto asked, careful to not disrupt the proctor's concentration. Ibiki gave a side eye. Ask quickly, then leave, Mouse-chan. Ignoring the jab, Naruto took a breath. Why the 2 separate tests? You gave the poison one to Konoha heavy teams, while everyone else got the test of the chakra doors. Why? You know most Konoha teams won't even pass the loyalty test, they're too soft. And that's exactly why. We need our Chunin ready for war, while the rest of the villages think we're preparing for peace. In war, Chunin will leave those who aren't of the village to die. You should know this, Mouse, based on that infamous doppelganger mission. To those outside Konoha, however, they will still believe we are about cooperation when the failed genin report to their cage. To be a shinobi. It's all about deceiving them, isn't it? Naruto whispered while watching Sakura mercilessly leave the Iwa shinobi tied up and inject Sai with the antidote. The pair left the poisoned Iwa genin in the room, whose passing would be determined by his teammates' performance against other Konoha teams. Immediately, Quiet Shino left another of the Iwa team's teammate to carry Hinata out, while the third one, the lone girl, failed the door test by leaving a Konoha team in the room after having them pump chakra into the door. Granted, that team was slated to fail, so it wasn't a loss, but still. Yes, only one Iwa team left now. Naruto noted, as surprisingly a single Iwa kunoichi honorably helped a Kumo team through the door, instead of just stealing their chakra. To deceive is to kill them. If that Kumo team passes, who is with the Uchiha maggot, they won't know which way Konoha falls, the path of peace or war. I guarantee that every cage out there will have war councils after this to decide if this test was designed to show our bloodlust or our hopes to work together. And which is it then? Naruto asked, Kurama listening in as well. Through the mask, Naruto witnessed a sight no one wants to see: Ibiki Moreno, top interrogator, smiling with malice. Why, both, of course, as Konoha is hoping to dip into both the honey pot and the beehive maggot. Naruto shuddered and walked away, Ibiki's laugh unnerving his stomach. Quit whining, we're going to war. This will make our village seem strong. Oh, our village. I thought you weren't going to ever call this place home. Shut it. Mortal, it was a slip of the tongue, nothing more. Of course, of course. Excuse my mistake, Naruto replied sarcastically. HMF. You are more trouble than you're worth sometimes. That scarred human was trying to teach you an important lesson, and it went over your head like my greatness. And what lesson is that, Kurama? He asked blandly. You'll have to figure that out for yourself, Naruto. And I just hope you don't change when you finally do. Even with your track record, how can one handle what I believe these flesh bags are planning? Not even a demon would think of this. For once, Father, please let me be wrong. Those were the quiet thoughts of the ancient Kyubi no Kitsune as he narrowed his eyes through his containers. With Sakura and Sai. You feeling better, Sai? Sakura asked with concern. Sai, paler than normal, nodded feebly. They were in the hallway, staring at a note to go to the cafeteria to wait for their teammate to pass the same round. She felt bad for leaving the other shinobi to die, but at the same time, Sakura had been taught by Hikari-sensei that showing mercy to an enemy just left them another chance to kill you later on. Unless this is just a silly test, and he isn't poisoned. Wait, that's silly, Sakura. Focus on the next goal. Yes, I am fine, Sakura-san. Good, you still have that storage seal on your shoulder tattooed on? The pink-haired girl asked and received a firm nod in response. Are you thinking? Sai trailed off. Cha, let's go find that idiot before he gets killed. If it's the same test as ours, another village left him to die. What's the plan then? Sai asked as he summoned a brush and ink, letting his creations erupt, ready for anything. Screw the test and rescue Sasuke before the poison seal would have disappeared. I would say 25 minutes if they started at the same time. Your mice should be able to steal from another team their antidote, just make sure it isn't one with a Konoha team. And if they all have a Konoha comrade on them? Then, I don't know, I'll think of something. Maybe we can ask Hikari-sensei to help. If worse comes to worse, we'll forfeit the Chunin exams and take Sasuke to the hospital. We'll likely never be allowed in the exams again, you know. Sai replied blandly in an attempt to reason with his squad member. Sakura snorted, her next words ones that would define how the pale and mission-driven Sai saw the world for the rest of his life. And so what? I would rather die in Iwa than to ever think about abandoning a comrade. Sacrifice is one thing, but for someone to choose to sacrifice a human being without that person choosing it for themselves. That is truly what makes someone worse than scum. Back with Sasuke. Please stop. I told you Ak. I told you it's a chakra sensing door like my clan had for their vaults. It can only be Ak. Opened if everyone in the room pushes their chakra into it. Ak, stop. Please, for the love of all that is good and holy, Sasuke Uchiha gasped before breaking out into another fit of laughter. Saki puffed out a cheek before sighing. It seems I need to get serious. Rushing through hand signs she intoned, Kumo's secret finger jutsu 1,000 years of tickles. And proceeded to tickle the poor Uchiha some more, until the door burst open landing near her. Get away from my teammate before I gut you, bitch. Saki crept her eyes up and felt her whole body go rigid in fear. For before her stood a sight worse than any Bijoa, an angry Sakura Haruo, short hair flying and fists cracking. Why yes, ma'am. Saki gulped, glad Yuzu was still asleep and didn't have that nightmare fuel to plague her. In the ANBU area with Ibiki. Ha 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 ha. Hikaru laughed at Sakura, who was frantically making sure the Uchiha didn't have a poison seal. Upon finding out the differences in the tests, the kunoichi just dragged all three out of the room and towards the cafeteria, a meek Sai just following along. Can she do that? A proctor asked, gray uniform signifying him as Ibiki's underling. They fail, right? Multiple whispers and hand signs flew, and with each one Ibiki's headache grew. The last one finally made him explode. Totally, Ibiki-sama wouldn't let them go after that. Another underling boasted. Silence. Not a single ANBU or random Jonin sensei lurking were brave enough to try and counter that command. Technically what Sakura Haruo did was not against the rules. The cafeteria waiting room was only a suggestion, as long as they get there before the timer goes off in 30 minutes. She and Sai displayed exemplary loyalty to their comrade. Those maggots will pass. A-, and the Kumo team. Bah, they pass too. It's too much paperwork to fail them. Ibiki scoffed flippantly and continued on observing the exam. 30 minutes later, cafeteria. With a large puff, 20 proctors and Ibiki appeared, all intimidating. Ibiki smiled at the sight of only 12 teams surviving, 6 of them being from Konoha and only 1 from Iwa. Just as Ibiki was preparing his epic last speech that he most definitely had not spent hours practicing, a kunai shot through the window. Listen up, you maggots. The incredibly beautiful Enko Mitarashi is here for your second and better test. Enko boasted, striking a power pose, dango proudly in her teeth. With a face palm, Ibiki took a breath to begin his attempt to recover the mood of the Chunin exams and gather some of his intimidation factor back. With Naruto. Naruto had his mouth slightly agape at his rather quirky friend's entrance when a snap from Tenzo brought him back. Time to prepare for the second round. You ready? Tenzo asked out loud. Naruto gave a tilt of his head to look his captain in the eye. Yes, Takeo. I'm ready. Chapter 28. Presently, inside the Forest of Death with Naruto and Team Ro. When Naruto spotted Orochimaru in disguise as the Sannin licked his lips, somehow foolish enough to believe nobody noticed his disguise even when the man stuck a foot-long tounge out. That or overconfident. We did do a fantastic job of playing the ignorant village, Naruto mused to himself, idly keeping his hand gripped on a chakra metal kunai, mentally asking the traitor to give him an excuse to fling a Kurama-influenced kunai at his slimy head. Unfortunately, Orochimaru was content to just peer at his old student in a predative way even as Anko managed the miracle of pretending he wasn't there. It had taken much therapy from the third Hokage to ensure Anko's cooperation. Seeing the signal from Tenzo to send 50 clones into the forest for minor additional recon as Anko was starting her spiel, Naruto settled down for an entertaining few minutes, his black cloak and forest contrasting sharply with his mask. Down in the clearing, a light worthless maggots. Anko greeted cheerfully once every Genin team had sufficiently gawked at what was the most dangerous place in the land of fire and hand in their liability forms. I hope you're ready to die painfully for my enjoyment. Multiple Genin bristled at her flippant attitude about their lives only to find a kunai in their backpacks courtesy of a hidden Naruto, chains like vipers, not that the Genin could see. No Genin would show his friend disrespect. Heh, you're getting pretty good with those chains, Naruto. Kurama praised in a bored tone. AW, thanks Kurama. That means Naruto started to give gratitude for the praise only to be cut off by Kurama. It's such an accomplishment to hit unmoving large targets at non-vital spots. The fox finished his compliment with a sarcastic smirk, causing the blonde ANBU to mentally roll his eyes at his own foolishness at thinking Kurama could be sincere. He felt a creeping chill run up his spine and turned slightly to face Tenzo. Do that again, mouse, and I'll tell Dragon you want a training retreat with him. Tenzo threatened through animated sign language. Of course, Takeo. Naruto signed back with shaky hands that gave away his fear. Hikara and Yugao shared silent snickers. Down below, Anko continued her proctoring speech. Right here you brats get to spend 2 days in my personal playground, the Forest of Death. Inside you'll find roaming wasp spiders, leeches, and ANBU squads to pick your dead husks from the forest floor. But don't worry, you don't have to spend 2 whole days in there, she assured the now trembling Genin. Seeing their unspoken question, the snake summoner continued. All you maggots have to do is play a little game of cat and mouse. See cat and mouse? Ino asked uncertainly, already dreading the forest. She knew her team wasn't ready for this, but didn't want to look bad by dropping out. Anko got a predatory gleam in her eyes. Why yes, dearie. See, half the squads here will receive a scroll. Here she held up a giant scroll with the kanji for mouse written in large letters and signaling for the assembled teams to split evenly, which happened quickly. Naruto could feel his eye twitch when Anko sent a wink in his general direction due to the name. The other half of the squads will not receive a scroll, but a map of the area. The mice get a 20-minute head start towards the teams that make it with a scroll advance. Anko finished. Kiba took the opportunity to speak his ire. That's bull. What about us pursuit teams? We have no chance in hell. Another kunai in his backpack courtesy of Anko shut him up. TSK on the contrary, my dear Inuzuka, the mice teams have one key disadvantage. Her eyes held a fake, not that the Genin or Chunin could tell, manic gleam. Everyone waited expectantly. This, as she said that each mouse team had a teammate shot with snake venom. Instantly the Genin felt their chakra drain. That venom hails from the land of bears, and is known to seal a person's chakra away for 6 days on average. And for those with a medic, well, there is no antidote since I messed with it. Anko finished sheepishly, not bothering to mention the side effects that 20% of victims experienced from her improved version. What they didn't know couldn't be used to sue her. Alright maggots. Mouse teams line up, and remember, you have to reach the towers with everyone alive, so I recommend killing the weak competition. And thus each team prepared to play their roles, nervously discussing their various strategies as Anko cackled at her own callous advice. Mouse team preparations. With Team 10, Shikamaru absently rubbed his arm where he was injected, and gave his teammates a hard look. This will be troublesome, but if we run fast enough we can make it before anyone will bother us. The lazy genius sighed when he noticed Ino being unusually sullen. What's with you, Ino? You're more troublesome than if you were a loud-mouthed woman. That got her to grow a tick mark. Shut up, you lazy baka. And thus Ino momentarily got out of her funk to slap her teammate in the back of the head. Tsk, you're not very youthful, are you? Shikamaru blurted out. Silence reigned amongst the teens. Chaochi even dropped his potato chip bag in shock, and Ino held a hand to her mouth. Let's just get ready. Shikamaru finally broke the silence with a shaky command. With Team Odo. So we run fast with Kin our backs and this horribly heavy scroll before Gaara gets in, right? Dasi gulped, and his friends quickly agreed. And our mission? Zaku asked about their believed orders to help Gaara and kill the Uchiha. Screw that, I don't want to die, we'll just kill him during the month. With firm nods the team started a final bag check, completely unaware their master had been listening the whole time. With the undercover route team, the three emotionally challenged genin minus, including Danzo Shimura's pet Uchiha that was hidden with a face mask and contacts to make him look like a different route agent who switched with him, were calmly double-checking their bags. Thankfully their female companion was the one bitten, and she was a taijutsu specialist anyways. The team was careful not to look at their targets or Orochimaru. It wouldn't do to cast suspicion on themselves so close to their master's goals. Be ready for anything, Kakashi Uchiha, the favorite of Danzo Shimura, ordered. The two others just nodded, mentally prepared themselves. With the Sand Trio, I will kill for you, mother, all those foolish to pursue us, Gaara cooed to himself. Temurai gulped a bit, but stopped herself from commenting. As long as they made it to that blasted tower within the 2-day time limit, it didn't matter what her psycho of a brother did. Their mission didn't start until the third round, where Gaara would shower the great village of Konoha in its own blood. With the Iwa team, remember, get to the tower at all costs. We must make it to the third round, and make Iwa shine amongst the Konoha scum. The team leader, Hideo, grew up without a father or mother after the fourth Hokage wiped them out with his infamous jutsu, the last massacre before the war ended. He'd been cut out from his mother's dead womb by a dying medic nin who cradled the babe until the reinforcements arrived, dying with a smile on her face for doing one last act of kindness. The boy grew up amongst hundreds of orphans just like them, most of whom became shinobi as that was the most viable option for clan-less orphans with no funds. All his life Hideo swore he would do everything to make Konoha suffer. Getting to the third round and killing their genin in front of thousands sounded beautiful to his ears. Unfortunately, his other teammates Mari and Akiko didn't share his zeal. Mari had actually helped a foreign shinobi in the last round, and the only reason Hideo didn't sneer at her was because it let them pass. He pointedly ignored the voice whispering in his head to let the past go. 30 seconds before the gates opened, all 5 of the mice squads looked pensive, even the one psycho Suna genin squad who were there more for their mission than as actual Chunin candidates. The seconds clicked down. At 30 seconds Chaochi slipped the oversized scroll on, grunting at the weight. At 25 seconds Ino glanced at the impending forest with fiery eyes and false bravado. At the 15-second mark Hideo sent a hateful glance to the competition. Mari, the member with locked chakra, nervously checked that their other member Akiko had the scroll secured across the back. Team Iwa was in it for the win. 10 seconds sparked heartbeat skipping. 5 seconds found every young shinobi and kunoichi with a weapon grasped expertly. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second. Braying. Anko sounded the signal alarm and each gate was thrown open by Chunin. Squads bolted through the gates and towards the center, where the outline of a tower could be seen from the clearing. They had 30 minutes to make time, set traps and pray they could slow pursuers down enough to reach the finish line without confrontations. With Naruto's shoulders tensed involuntarily at the alarm, but forced them to relax. Hawk's team along with other ANBU squads were in the forest, clones and radios also on the move for any funny business. As it was tradition for Konoha to have ANBU presence in the forest during the second stage, they could get away with it without alerting Orochimaru. It did help that Dragon confirmed the last Uchiha was a target for marking through whatever sources the enigmatic ANBU commander had. Ro wouldn't head out until the cats were sent into the dark forest. Think they'll run into the wasp spiders? Angel whispered, pointedly pretending she didn't feel Tenzo's cuff on her ear. No, as long as they don't go the long way around. We did clean out 100 of them that time. Naruto cautiously replied in sign. The blonde was not at all confident in his words, but gave the small cat a nice head pat anyways. It'd be nice if they did though. We could blow through the insects with my beautiful art. Deidara cut in animatedly, idly remodding his clay spiders. Hikari scoffed. If they found them though we would be the ones to drag their bloody remains out, trust me, it's not worth it. The last time Ro had Chunin exam duty we spent 3 nights cleaning out enough leeches and wasp spiders to cart out the genin. The Hyuga had less than fond memories of being covered in buckets of blood on the quest to recover 4 foolish genin squads that had apparently thought to cut through the nesting region on the last day rather than admit defeat. It hadn't ended well for them. With the pursuit squads. All too soon it was the 20-minute mark and the air was thick enough to slice through with Hyuga's katana. Each trio began strategizing for what would hopefully be a short escapade into the training ground. With Team 7, Kakashi's official and Hikaru's unofficial team were huddled over the provided map. Sakura-san, Duckbutt-san, we should stick to these areas as the leeches are too dangerous to wander towards. Sai pointed to various routes on the map with a pencil. Sasuke ignored the juvenile nickname while studying it closely, Sharingan active. Hey Sai, I was wondering, how do you know so much about this place? Sakura asked and Sai paused. Memories of long hikes, survival exercises and clandestine meetings flashed through his head, but were expertly hidden by the pale boy. He gave a plain, slightly better than fake smile. Oh, I just read a great deal. We should avoid the Odo and Asuma-san's team as well as that vicious-looking Suna team. Sai advised. Why? I understand about the Iwa and Odo teams, but what about the other two? The Inoshika-cho team falls apart as one member is down, and that one Suna squad looks weak. The only other team is that young Konoha one and picking on children wasn't what I wanted in the exams, Sasuke argued. Sakura nodded, but listened to Sei's surprisingly adamant rebuttal. Asuma-san's squad is known by the other ones as weak. We be fighting several competitors. The Suna squad will be a target due to them being children of the Kasuke. That younger genin team will be an easy target though since they blend in. They will be left alone as no one pays attention to them, giving us the freedom to take their scroll. Here Sai stopped to breathe and Sasuke used the opportunity to take charge. Fine. We'll follow them. Sakura, you will throw up genjutsu and take the scroll before jumping away, I'll knock them out. Sai, you send out ink animals to track them. Already on their person Duckbutt-san. Sai volunteered with a pleasant smile. Sasuke huffed, but continued. We strike and run directly to the tower. With focus we'll reach it before nightfall. 3 sets of eyes locked and fist bumped. Camaraderie amongst them strong. I won't let them get hurt, no matter what Sai mentally promised his friends, not realizing that the younger genin team were all root ANBU. Multiple parties had listened in to the conversation, and the reactions were varied. Naruto and Hikaru both smiled with thumbs up at Team 7's willingness to work together. Orochimaru, however, with Orochimaru's team, the legendary snake summoner licked his lips at his future vessel. Oh, how difficult it had been to keep him and his two clones from being obvious about their identities while his old apprentice spoke, but it worked. No one suspected his infiltration. All he had to do was waltz into the forest, mark Sasuke-kun while meeting with Danzo's little spy, kill his idiotic subordinates who believed they had the right to abandon their suicide mission, and threaten Konoha into keeping the exams going. Kukukuku, I must hurry though, my job as the Kasage is very time-consuming. Orochimaru, you sly devil, you must control your urges after all. Orochimaru mused to himself. Deciding he would first hit a scroll for Sasuke-kun. He did want the boy to pass into the third round, after all the Sannin would then track down his precious future eyes. Orochimaru then felt the familiar flicker of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's chakra that just begged to be experimented on. The Sannin knew taking him before the fated third round and invasion would automatically cause the village to go on lockdown, thus cancelling the exams. Standard procedure, village procedure, the same one most of the Great Five followed, dictated that a kidnapped Jinchuriki was a unanimous act of war. Orochimaru would relish starting said war. Just not until he was ready to absolutely crush his former home. Too bad for Naruto that Orochimaru had no qualms about playing with his soon-to-be pet. With Team Kumo, Yuzu, Yatsuki and Saki gave Taro a side-eye as he suggested they follow another pursuit team and stake the scroll they steal, as they'd be worn out. However, Saki agrees, as it would let Yuzu get to the safety of the tower before it got crazy. She did have it in her best interests to make sure the former Raikage's great niece didn't kick the bucket from the two Hyuga. It wouldn't be a difficult stretch for them to take out their anger on the only vulnerable relative to the man that caused their clansman's death. Saki wouldn't allow it, however, and thus ignored the other girls' protests, instead messing with her chocolate hair absently. Team 8 and Team 9. Neji glared hatefully at his younger cousin, not at all pleased with the decision from Hayashi-sama that they would stick together for the survival portion of the exam. Of course, the main branch would get special treatment. A weakling like you is fated to let others slave away for your own victory. Right, Hinata-sama? Neji mocked Hinata. Lee started shouting about how unyouthfully Neji was acting, but it was Shino who put the branch house heir in his place. Excuse me, Hyuga-san, but do not mock my teammate again, or I will not hesitate to call the giant leeches on you. Shino whispered into the older boy's ear, and Neji couldn't help but feel apprehensive. The Hyuga decided to shut up. For now. Yeah, you better shut up, you prick. Or else Akamaru, and I will rip you apart. Kiba boasted, with Akamaru giving a yip in agreement. Quiet, rookie, we're the best Konoha squad here. Tenten bit out, but then turned to her white-eyed friend. I agree though, you should be nicer while we're in the forest. PFFT, very well then. We attack the O-Scum and the lazy Nara team. They're traveling parallel to each other currently. Tenten rolled up her team's map. Alright, what's the battle plan, guys? She asked. Neji closed his eyes briefly before staring at them all, the mind of a tactician formulating a strategy. Here is the plan. Aburame, Inuzuka, you will travel in the back for tracking and long-range strikes. Tenten, you join them. Lee. After the bells sound the alarm. Naruto winced as one of his clones popped right after the alarm from the first wave of squads, specifically the Odo squad. Sound attacks. Interesting, Naruto thought when the genin had called out the name of his attack loudly, aiming at what he thought was a monster, but was just a clone messing with them as per orders. Even animals as vicious as the ones in the Forest of Death rarely attacked unprovoked, so Naruto was there to rile the genin and animals up. 2 days in the forest would be boring otherwise, after all. Follow parallel to Uchiha team, Tenzo ordered, and the entirety of Row shot off, carefully masking their chakra. Naruto used this time to talk to Kurama about their little snake problem. Brat, My roots absorbed the snake's negative emotions and intent when he glanced our way. I wouldn't be surprised if he attacked us. The boy ignored the obvious attempt at a plant joke and gave his thoughts. True, but we both know he was planning on it anyways. Nothing's changed, Naruto assured. But Kurama wasn't done. If that flesh bag attacks us, I will send enough chakra to obliterate him. After he's done with the Uchiha, of course. Kurama added the last part with a bit of glee. Naruto sweat dropped, avoiding a low-hanging branch. Our mission is to protect Sasuke, not kill him. TSK, you take the fun out of it. But what happens when they see your chains of the tiny kitten? They'll know your identity. Naruto avoided that sore subject. It wasn't just orders that kept him from blurting it out to his former classmates, but his own uncertainty. Despite not being very healthy, he enjoyed the anonymity of being in uniform. No one from the village questioned him, or sent him those looks. The couple of times a civilian had spotted the blonde in off-duty clothes, without even his headband, caused him to shunching away instantly before the civilian could recognize, and thus hate him once more. ANBU was his identity now, and even showing his Chunin side to the rookies was difficult to stomach. Sakura, Sai and Sasuke especially, as he had led them on missions, tortured. Yar trained them, and watched them grow as people. They weren't friends, but they weren't enemies. And to hide the fact he'd always been a higher rank than them was something he planned on keeping for potentially years, if possible. Sai knew obviously, but the other two didn't need to know. But if it came down to either Naruto letting Sasuke get bitten or hurt, or stopping the snake using chains and a Rasengan, there was no contest. He was a Konoha shinobi, and he would protect his comrades. No matter what. 10 minutes later. Kin and Zaku looked behind them while running, feeling bile rise up at their pursuer. Giving each other the look, they nodded their heads. Their master was coming and he was pissed. They wouldn't survive, but they would still try. Dasi sweated when the chakra he'd felt since childhood kept getting closer. It didn't take a chakra sensor to feel Orochimaru's killing intent when it was so focused. Kukoku seemed to echo all around the trio. Snakes shot out from the bark, fangs bared. The beasts ensnared Dasi first, as the boy had tried to summon chakra for a jutsu. The snake was just too fast. Next was Zaku, who vaulted Kin off his back, the kunoichi just feeling the touch of death. That was the snake's skin. With no chakra and weak taijutsu compared to Zaku and Dasi, much less their master, Kin knew she was going to die. She collapsed to her knees on a massive tree branch, eyes wide with fear when Orochimaru emerged from a nearby trunk. "Why hello there my pets," Orochimaru greeted silkily. The most notorious traitor to Konoha had the snakes by his side, and the man petted Dasi's headband. Now, like any shinobi village, Odo is not kind to traitors. We're not traitors, Orochimaru-sama. Zaku pleaded. The Sanin's eyes, which once exuded false warmth, turned steely. With practiced ease he ripped Zaku's head off from the boy's shoulders. Now. Anyone else wish to lie to me? Both genin shook their heads vigorously at their master's tone. Good. I'll be taking this. Scroll firmly secured on his back, the Sanin turned away and left. Dasi dropped without ceremony from the viper's grip. Instantly the killing intent dissipated, and Kin relaxed. We didn't die. She breathed. Dasu was recovering his breathing, but both started laughing hysterically, thinking they somehow, for a reason unknown, cheated death. That's when a kunai made the world go dark. In the forest, with ANBU Team Row. It had been 2 hours since the pursuit squads were unleashed, and Sasuke's team was hopelessly lost. The poor genin were not natural trackers, and while Sei's mice were excellent in normal circumstances, their targets were adept at using traps. Naruto watched in amusement as Sakura disabled yet another tripwire explosive trap that the odd little genin group had set out. Team 17, consisting of a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10-year-old who had lost her squad last year. Nothing special about them, as their files indicated well-adjusted if slightly socially inept shinobi who graduated early and were simply on the exams to buffer the konoha numbers. Nobody expected them to make it past the first round, as their sensei assured the Hokage they were more suited for a field promotion and village guard duty. But here they were. And playing with Team 7, Naruto noticed. Hikaru activated his Byakugan momentarily after the next wave of traps led the genin through a thick bog. They know where they're going, but intentionally leading their pursuers deeper into the forest. Hikaru informed the team, much to all of Ro's puzzlement. "Are you sure, Baka?" Deidara asked, even as he unsealed more prepared clay birds. Normal genin, not even those trained by the ANBU these past months, would ever be in a position to know the landscape. Hell, even the squads with the maps were easily duped and led around in circles. Hikari gasped when his Byakugan caught them using ANBU signs. "Takeo, they're signing." They just confirmed that they're leading Team 7 towards the secluded eastern section of Wasp Spider's 4. Hikaru was cut off as the ANBU scattered just in time to avoid being smashed by a summon's body. Naruto used several kawarimi as kunai were thrown, aimed at rather permanent spots, to land to a safe branch 10 meters to the right. Angel was already transformed, and her thick jaws were embedded into the eye of the summons. With a start, Naruto realized it was a snake eye. Shoot! How did Hikaru not sense him coming? Naruto panicked in his head. The boy attempted to. His fist automatically blocked Orochimaru's, who started beating on the boy. "Coo, you're quite mousy, aren't you? I have to bend over to fight you." Naruto held his tongue, much to Orochimaru's chagrin. "Don't let him get to you, Kit. Focus, your squad is fighting nearby against another snake summon headed for the Uka's team." Kurama cautioned. Not even going to say anything. The Sannin taunted. Chains from Naruto erupted and flew at the Sannin. The man didn't try to block and let his arm be caught, chuckling darkly. "What beautiful chains. Now, show me what you can do, Nine Tails." The pair sprang from their branches, Naruto using a shunshin to appear behind the traitor, Rasengan already formed. It connected with Orochimaru's back and the man appeared to blast away, only to twist mid-air and grin. Naruto was yanked towards his foe using his own chains before being punched into a tree with a sickening crunch. Is that all? Is that all the mightiest of the Biju can do, Naru-chan?" Orochimaru insulted. Naruto summoned 100 clones who charged forward with abandon. Their only purpose was to momentarily distract the snake man, who chose upshook a sword and slashed the horde away, manic smile in place the whole time. Naruto grabbed out his sealing tags, intent on having clones seal him and the bastard inside until his team could come back. From what a shadow clone sent in memories, they were quickly dispatching a giant summon snake, though Deidara was dealing with wasp spiders that decided to poke from their nests. Naruto knew the genin were traitors somehow, piecing together their carefully laid trap for Orochimaru to get to Sasuke and them, and promised to drag them to Ibiki himself when this was over. Naruto looked over towards Angel and couldn't be more proud. With Angel moments before, when the summoning snake had decided to crash into her team's on-the-go meeting, Angel was out for blood. Every time. She growled as once again she was launched away from her partner. The Hellcat was beginning to wonder if it was fate or all-controlling being that prevent the duo from fighting side by side more often than not. A tree was uprooted and the feline took the opportunity to springboard up, growing to her maximum size. The snake gave her a hungry look as the thing was over half the size of a boss summons. With hot fury she shot fire into the widening mouth of the snake that expected her to fall in. The jaws clamped down in pain and Angel landed by an eye. Without hesitation she clamped powerful jaws down on the beast, and a loud hiss filled the area. For over a minute the two were in a deadlock. "Grrr. Take that, you bastard," she growled triumphantly when she finally ripped the eye out. The snake thrashed and disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving Angel to look towards Naruto. What she saw made her blood chill. Back with Naruto. Orochimaru chose that moment of distraction to drop kick from the canopy, and Naruto felt a sick crunch as he was catapulted from his branch towards the floor below. Eyes fluttered closed. I just want to sleep, Naruto foggily thought as he drifted in and out of consciousness. On and on the Anu fell, Orochimaru following right above, intent on giving the Jinchuriki a beatdown. I'll have fun breaking you, you little shit. I'll make you scream like a failure. Like the failure you are. Not even Orochimaru knew why he was being so cruel. He couldn't take the boy yet, but then again the brat was the child of his most hated rival. Meanwhile, Naruto saw his life flash before his eyes, his blood floating in front of his face. I want to be Hokage to protect everyone. A blonde, 8-year-old screamed at school. You. Hokage. Yeah, right. You're a failure as even a shinobi. I bet you won't graduate. Kiba Inuzuka howled. I'm sorry, Naruto, but you failed. Urka's pitying looks making the already shaking 12-year-old break inside. You are the nine-tailed fox. Mizuti spat in the clearing. Naruto recoiled. Everything made sense to him. He truly was a stupid demon. Naruto, you pass. Urka smiled brightly as Naruto hugged him, the boy finally feeling like something was going right. You're a Jinchuriki, a person who holds a tailed beast. That makes you an asset to Konoha, Dragon spoke calmly. Hey, Chibi Koha. Let's get going. Naruto, you're a fine shinobi. Sarutobi said with pride when Naruto completed his first A- rank. Hey Naruto, let's spar, I'll teach some more. Cough. Kenjutsu moves while Yugao is away. Hayate offered. TSK, you're alright for a fish cake. You're like a brother to me, Kakashi admitted while the pair had a break from the madness that was training. I never say this, but you're like the little brother I never had, Mouse, Dragon whispered during a quiet meeting. Naruto. Tenzo and Yugao said. Baka, come back soon, Yakumo blushed. Chibi Koha / Fuinjutsu fish cake. Ikara and Deidara cheered. Never give up, Naruto. As your super pervert, I demand it. Wake up. The voices blurred together. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Kurama roared. Suddenly, his body flared with Kurama's usual chakra cloak. Naruto snapped his eyes open and Orochimaru gasped when red silted eyes met his in defiance. Purplish chains influenced by the tailed beast within flew in all directions, a large amount aiming right at the Sannin. 3 hit, and tore through the bastard's arms. What ensued was a mighty struggle as they fell. Naruto twirled so that he was above chains still stuck in Orochimaru's arms. Angel chose that moment to vault off a tree and bite the Sannin's head, only to be swatted away by the sword Orochimaru kept in his mouth. Grabbing Angel so she didn't fall, Naruto dangled in midair by his chains, heaving with rage as Kurama coursed through his body, threatening to unleash the first tail, if Orochimaru still decided to fight. However, the Sannin smirked, and before his body reached the forest floor it melted away into mud. Shit. If that was a clone then. An overwhelming sense of killing intent from the general direction of where Sasuke would be made the Jinchuriki use his pure Shunshin speed to head there immediately, dread filling his foggy mind. With Team 7 earlier, Sasuke knew their target was leading them somewhere, as Sai had pointed out after the weird boy realized they were headed towards something called the wasp spider nests. Sasuke didn't know what those were exactly, but the grim look on Sei's face told him they should head away immediately. Except that they couldn't because a giant snake was blocking their path, and the team they were chasing surrounded them. Sakura, who was just beside him, was now unconscious against a tree. The snake barreling through the forest flew her backwards, and Sasuke winced at the large amount of blood their only medic was losing. Stand behind me, Sai urgently ordered, and his super beast scroll summoned 5 lions. The youngest of the ambushers tilted his head. Rice curry, the boy said. Sai stiffened, much to the confusion of Sasuke. Sai, he asked curiously. No, Sai stated firmly, directed at the ambusher who spoke. All 3 stiffened then relaxed. I see. So Master was right. You did turn. No matter, you'll die here. The youngest spoke with an unnatural calm. The air stilled. What the hell? Sasuke shouted when the three Konoha shinobi attacked Sai simultaneously, the girl kicking the Uchiha out of the way. Sai jumped onto an ink bird to head away from Sasuke, wishing he could stay with his friends longer. They chased him far away, far enough that Sai couldn't even sense the summon's chakra. This way, he could protect them. Forgive me, but I won't be making Chunin with you. Sai thought as his fellow root agents minus no, I'm a traitor to them minus as the root scum followed him like moths. A battle began and Sai planned to make it and his death glorious. Super Beast Scroll, explosion, Sai intoned after having several of his ink birds fly too close to the mid-air root shinobi. They exploded. The explosion seal encoded in them saved him as the foes were forced off his tail for a moment. He let a small smile form when the blast killed one of them, the girl, and blew the arm off of the other boy. Silently thanking Naruto for teaching him how to incorporate an explosion seal into his animals, Sai followed the root shinobi, jumping off the bird and locking his tanto with the youngest, and only intact one of the three in midair. Why did you betray Danzo-sama? And Sai had a deep cut down his torso, jumping back to a trunk before hitting the younger boy with a slice to the gut. I found my will of fire. Sai said simply, and the two locked once more, though it was clear Sai had the upper hand when his opponent coughed up some blood. Thinking he might actually survive the fight, Sai locked gazes with the boy. Then widened his eyes as they met a set of fully matured Sharingan. Kakashi Uchiha allowed a vicious smirk to appear amongst his bloody mouth as the traitor looked into his eyes. The young boy had taken out his contacts for battle just so he could shock his opponents. It wasn't something Danzo would approve of, but the traitor was going to die anyways, and he wanted some pleasure out of the experience. Sai cursed inside as the young Uchiha made his eyes spin and Sai began to lose himself. He knew he was trapped as he felt the hypnotism take root. Huh, at least I got two of them, Duckbutt-san, Sakura-san. Kai. Foreign chakra flooded his own, a familiar one that was warm. The pale boy found himself on a branch, staring into the masked face of his second sensei, Hikaru. Hikari-sensei? Sai asked, bewildered. The ANBU seemed to grin and nod. In the flesh, chibi. Now you stay put while I deal with our little friend here. I heard everything. Wait. He has Sai tried only to be silenced by Hikaru's chuckle. I know, and he'll be finding out why those eyes will never beat the great Hikaru. Kakashi knew he was beat. With absolute loyalty, the dog of Danzo prepared the suicide jutsu, building up his chakra. Unfortunately for him, Hikaru effortlessly blocked all his chakra points, knocking him out and ripping the suicide pill from his mouth after some searching. The fight was less than 10 seconds, and Sai was in awe of how ruthlessly the man who often played the fool handled the situation. Hikaru noticed his slack-jawed expression and grinned. Cat got your touch? Same time with Sasuke. Sasuke was in a bad place. He was rooted to his spot in front of what appeared to be a Kusa genin, protecting one of his only friends, Sakura. Sasuke-kun, why don't you show me your power? The Kusa genin chuckled silkily and beckoned. Sasuke stood his ground though. Sai's gone, who knows where, and this woman shows up with a scroll. Why is she attacking us? No, don't think, just protect Sakura. Sasuke thought to himself. He gripped his kunai as killing intent blasted the area, making his heart skip a beat. This PPP power. I've never been so scared. I need to leave. No. Don't move. Sasuke growled to himself. He wouldn't be worse than scum. He'd protect his comrade to the end. A killing intent filled with more malice entered the clearing and pounced on Sasuke's attacker though. An ANBU agent around his height started barraging the Kusa genin with purple chains and a jutsu he recognized all too well. And Naruto? Sasuke asked. The slight stiffening of the shoulders told him all he needed to the giant cat that landed in front of him as a shield, giving more proof. His elusive former classmate, the desk Chunin, was in ANBU. Well, that shook his day some. With Naruto. When Sasuke said his name, Naruto cursed his stupidity, but kept fighting. He knew from what Dragon said, and who knows how Dragon found out that Orochimaru would attempt to mark the last Uchiha. That couldn't happen. And so Naruto was using his sword to block Orochimaru's, the Tounge acting as an arm. Naruto put some distance now. Not one to question, the blonde used a triad of shunshuns to land several meters away, just in time to dodge a newly summoned snake erupting from the ground. Shit, this couldn't get any worse, Naruto cursed. The universe laughed at him as Orochimaru fired off a fire dragon aimed right at the station boy. Orochimaru cackled. "AW, so sweet, trying to protect Sasuke-kun from my gift. Well, I guess we'll have to stop that, won't we?" Striking shadow hands. 12 snakes from each arm shot out at Naruto. The ANBU slashed at them with his claws before they could reach him, smirking behind his mask as Angel's jaws connected with the Sannin's arm, eliciting a shriek. Fire burned away at the man's body as Angel's fire-coated teeth drew blood. "Tsk, I never thought a feline could wound me," Orochimaru spat as he opened his mouth. A fully restored Orochimaru stepped out and everyone else gagged in revulsion. "Why, you're a monster," Sasuke said. "No, I'm perfection. And soon you'll see why, Sasuke-kun." The crazed Sannin laughed and in an instant was inches from Naruto's mask-covered face, hand cocked back. Naruto felt himself flown backwards, Kurama's cloak receding as the blow cut off his concentration momentarily. The Sannin launched his neck at a wide-eyed Sasuke, fangs bared. Angel bit the neck, but even crushed, the appendage kept stretching. Naruto knew he had to stop it. An idea formed, one so crazy it would fail, and thus he did something incredibly stupid. He used a Kawarami with the still knocked-out Sakura. Now right behind Sasuke as Orochimaru's jaws aimed for the neck, Naruto's ANBU-issued arm guards took the fangs, the seal-enforced armor keeping the poison off his skin. Naruto smirked at the absolutely enraged Orochimaru and gave him the finger. "See you bastard," he said and activated a prisoner scroll. Orochimaru couldn't move from a paralyzing seal Naruto had stuck right where the fangs went in. And so, in a puff of smoke, Orochimaru of the Sannin was captured. Naruto looked with half-lidded eyes at Sasuke, smiled at Angel who had just made the remaining snake disappear and collapsed on his stomach. The ANBU mask that had taken a beating in the last hour finally cracked from the faceplant and slid off. Naruto Sasuke breathed. "Yeah, I know. Save it." The blonde winced at his ribs and broken arm being slowly healed, as Kurama's chakra couldn't rush the process. Not when he had pumped 2 taels worth throughout the fight to keep Naruto's body going. "Damn it, don't go to sleep yet. You're in the forest of death," the fox shouted to deaf ears. Naruto grinned slightly and fought the sleep. Suddenly 4 chakra signatures he knew by heart surrounded him. "Mouse, you're alive," Tenzo spoke, not bothering with hand signs. Naruto snapped awake as he was pulled into a sitting position. Hikari started healing him while Yugao and Angel brought Sakura back. The girl was beginning to wake up, but Yugao pinched her neck, knowing it was for the best. "What? How?" Naruto questioned dumbly. His teammates looked like they went through war. Blood, snake venom, and dirt covered them, and Yuga's mask was completely red. Deidara was listless, obviously recovering from wasp spider poison, and clutching his arm. "Orochimaru?" Tenzo answered. "He planned on separating us, and 2 mud clones along with Manda's second in command was there. Add that with the swarm of wasp spiders that Fox fought by himself. We're lucky Fox only has a broken arm and poison." Tenzo trailed off and Naruto nodded. He began recounting the battle, leaving out Kurama, and his squad sputtered at the end. "You mean Yugao began. Took on Orochimaru, the actual one," Tenzo continued. "And sealed him on." Deidara finished. Naruto nodded in trepidation. The scroll sat nearby against a tree. I didn't seal his chakra first, so I don't know how long it will last. Tenzo rubbed his eyes at the mistake, even if it was unavoidable, and sighed. And you're free to go, Chibi Koha. Now let's take these prisoners back. Hikari said. Only then did Naruto notice Sai and the genin they were following. Sai sat next to Sakura and kept sending Hikari thankful looks. Figuring he'd find out later, Naruto began walking towards the scroll, figuring they had an hour to get the Sannin to the Drea for better sealing lest the traitor get free. However, just as he reached it, the scroll burned to a crisp and a note floated down. My dear pet. Sorry to disappoint, but I must not be captured. I will have Sasuke, so don't even try to stop me. Oh, and tell Sarutobi-sensei that if he cancels the exam, I'll destroy it before nightfall. Ta-ta. Orochimaru the Awesome. Naruto read the note over and let out a primal roar at his failure. 3 hours later, Forest of Death Tower. Hiruzen Sarutobi listened to the tale of Orochimaru's encounter with more surprise than he thought possible, since they knew it would happen. He felt pride well up in his old bones when his surrogate grandson managed to capture the traitor, then gave a reassuring look at the news Orochimaru had used a body switch at the last second before the sealing. By the end, he didn't know what to feel. I am proud of all of your successes, but now is not the time for rest. You safely shadowed Sasuke and his team here, but there are still dangers in the exams. Rest up for 1 hour before heading out. There is still a day and a half left of this curse stage. The only mercy was changing it from 5 days to 2 days. God knows I couldn't take that level of stress with these exams. Hiruzen muttered. Ro bowed once before shining silently, Naruto still angry at himself. As soon as the ANBU left, Hiruzen turned to his shadow. Dragon, what of the other competitors? Hiruzen asked. Dragon chuckled. Well, Hiruzen, I think you'll be quite amused. Oh, let's just say Anko's little drug gave the Nara a new outlook on life. I don't even want to know. Now, let's discuss this Uchiha that young Hikaru brought in as a lovely present. Kakashi Uchiha. I used to change his diapers, Dragon commented wistfully. With Shikamaru's team earlier. Now remember team, we must run quickly to show our flames of youth. Shikamaru yelled as he used more energy to glide across the forest than he used in his entire life combined. Ino looked at her friend in horror, as did Chaochi, but they didn't say anything out of fear of what happened last time they tried. They knew they were being pursued by 2 teams, and Ino decided to be the reasonable one when they found themselves surrounded by teams 8 and 9. H here. Just take it, the girl offered. Tenten looked offended, but Lee reached for it. However, Shikamaru ruined it. Ino. Quit being so unyouthful. And thus, Shikamaru and Lee locked eyes. A battle would happen, and the flames of youth ignited. Finally, with Danzo that night. Danzo Shimura looked at the dead root agent, glad the boy was merely dying when that soft Hugo left him. The failure of an agent reported as medics began bandaging the stump of an arm. And then he left me for dead, Danzo-sama. The Hugo said, I will not kill you myself, but watch your light fade from your eyes. I must have blacked out and my heart rate slowed due to blood loss. I woke up here, Danzo-sama. Danzo pondered everything he was told. The seal prevented any traitorous speech he hoped, at least so all that mattered was recovering Kakashi. I'll get him during the invasion. Now it's time to have a little chat with Orochimaru. From what my spies are saying, the fool is wanting the weapon for himself. That simply won't do. Konoha's Jinchuriki is mine, even if he doesn't know it yet. Turning impassively to his now useless agent who wasn't worth a prosthetic, the darkness of shinobi sliced the boy's throat. Your blood watered the great tree of fitting death, Danzo sneered and walked out of the medical bay. He had a coup to plan. Chapter 29. Forest of Death, with teams 8, 9 and 10. Shikamaru and Lee shared goofy grins, Lee giving a good guy pose. Yash. We will shine our flames of youth through a most youthful battle for the scroll. Lee exclaimed. Shikamaru chuckled. Let's play some shogi, Shikamaru said. Ino widened her eyes before grabbing Choji and tugging him away while everyone was transfixed on the youthful duo. If shogi shows our flames, I am pumped. Yash. Lee screamed in happiness. Neji and Tenten shared sighs at their friend, while Team 8 backed away slowly, not wanting to catch whatever illness it was Lee and Shikamaru had. I too am excited for our youthful battle, the Nara said. Then, to the surprise of Team 9, he smirked. He turned. And he ran, launching a basic kunai trap Ino had set up moments before they were surrounded. Yash. A most youthful race, Shikamaru-kun. Let us race to the tower like a true cat and mouse. Lee. Damn it, Tenten, let's go. Neji ordered before the remaining members of Team 9 followed into the trees. Both had thoughts to end the farce of a pursuit quickly and painfully. Hinata watched her cousin leave and moved to follow, flinching when Kiba put a hand on her shoulder to stop the effort. Ano, shouldn't we have followed Neji Naizen? She asked timidly. Over the last few months, her confidence had improved marginally under the ANBU's tutelage, but being near her hostile family member sent her back to square one. Let those bastards leave. That cousin of yours was more trouble than he was worth, Kiba scoffed. Hinata looked ready to protest until Shino stepped in. We are near the Iwa team according to my allies, we'll relieve them of their scroll before heading to the tower. I do not trust Neji-san. The Bahrain stated firmly. Hinata hesitated before nodding and the three set off, getting further and further away from her cousin she was instructed to stay by. With teams 9 and 10. Ino looked at Shikamaru in worry, as he kept shouting about youth even as they ran from the mentally unstable Lee, and murderous Neji and Tenten. This has to be because of that poison. You better go back to being lazy, you baka. Ino thought. She could see the tower clearing and prayed they could reach the entrance in time. Just then she blocked a barrage of shuriken that embedded themselves into her right hand and arm, making jutsu impossible. Ino screamed in pain as blood spurted out of the wound, and was carelessly kicked to the ground mid-jump by Tenten. The brunette sneered at the short-haired blonde. You were ready to give up back there, blondie. Partial expansion jutsu. The most beautiful voice Ino had ever heard shouted as a large, meaty arm curtsy of Choji blocked another barrage of kunai. The large shinobi looked livid as he stood in front his friend, who was currently bleeding on the forest floor. Shikamaru had been ruthlessly knocked out by an exuberant Lee and was deposited on the ground next to Choji curtsy of the green-wearing shinobi. Yash. You were most youthful opponents, but we have triumphed over you today. Never fear though, after the exams we can bask our flames of youth together. Lee shouted before running towards the tower. Tenten sighed before following, dragging a livid-looking Neji with her. Choji waited a few moments before canceling his jutsu. With a sigh, the only conscious member of Team 10 carried his friends gently towards the tower to forfeit and receive medical attention. I knew the Chunin exam was a bad idea. With Naruto and Ro. The Oa Genin were baffled when they jumped straight into a tree that looked like empty space courtesy of Naruto's false surroundings genjutsu. While too weak for any ANBU mission and requiring far too much concentration for the Jinchuriki to keep up for his Chunin missions, it was perfect for the weaklings below. Well, they weren't weak, Naruto admitted to himself. They were just inexperienced. Hikari gave him a thumbs up from a higher perch, while Deidara looked exhausted. Naruto wasn't sure why the other blonde wasn't in a hospital. However, it wasn't his place, so he dropped it. Ro had stumbled upon the Oa on their third sweep of the area, and couldn't resist some subtle sabotage. It was his way of keeping entertained after assigning Angel to guard Sasuke and Team 7. Leaving his partner behind was annoying, seeing as Hikari and Deidara seemed to see it as an opportunity to bug the blonde ANBU with signed practical jokes behind Tenzo's back. Nothing he didn't expect if he was being honest. Of course, Naruto wasn't expecting Shino's bugs to shoot towards the now defensive Uwa team. Nor was he expecting Kiba and Akamaru to send a loud fang over fang into the triangle formation team who split apart with practiced ease. And Naruto really wasn't expecting Hinata to engage the enemy. With Team 9 nowhere in sight, a glance towards Tenzo's retreating back as his captain landed next to the newly arrived Team Hawk confirmed his suspicions that something wasn't right. "Oh, Furball, why didn't you tell me Hinata's team was coming?" "GRR. I did, but you were focusing on setting up that weak genjutsu that I still wonder why you haven't mastered it." "I did master it, but genjutsu is my weak area, you know this. It's why I haven't used it much since Dragon-sama taught it to me." "TSK whatever. Anyways, that Hyuga did warn you about them approaching, but you were zoned out. If I had to guess, it would be because of Orochimaru." Naruto blushed at the accusation that he knew was true and cut off the conversation in favor of watching the Konoha team get destroyed save for Shino. Hinata had been picked apart by the girl with sealed chakra, who apologized after tying the Hyuga girl up with reinforced wire. Shino was in a bind when one of the males incinerated half his colony in one go when they rose up for a barrier attack. His muscles tensed when Akamaru was knocked out and had a kunai stuck to his throat courtesy of the obvious leader. He glanced over to his captain and relaxed when Tenzo ordered a no intervention from Ro. "Time to see how they handle this. Will it be like Shinobi? Or children caught in the cookie jar?" Team 8 and Iwa. Shino teased in annoyance at the whole situation before him. He had a beautiful plan all laid out that involved his bugs casually draining the other team's chakra. But then Kiba got impatient before the first swarm could make their move, citing the bastards are almost to the tower. In a spontaneous burst of stupidity, Shino ordered his allies to burst out of the ground at once in order to give Kiba a chance. Of course that failed. Logic would have dictated a retreat, but his teammates were too engaged in battle to allow that, and Shino found his careless move ending in the death of his stronger batch of insects. If only, the Ibare mused as Akamaru hung limp in the air, they were in leech territory. Alas, they weren't even near wasp spiders, and endangering the endangered carnivorous beetles around him was a last resort. Instead, Shino pushed his glasses up and focused on diplomacy. "Give us the dog and your scroll, or your third member will die from her blood loss," Shino promised, much to everyone's confusion. Just then the girl who was holding Hinata bound found an elongated kunai piercing the hand that held Hinata and flying through her torso. "Ack!" was the girl's cry as she fell forward, Hinata sheepishly jumping away. The seal on her sleeve that her weird cousin Hikari gave her right before the exam, Shino remembered was glowing before disappearing. Hinata landed next to Shino and bravely gave no indication that she regretted using a trigger seal to impale her enemy. Even better was the paralyzing poison attached to it. "Why, you monsters!" Hideo spat. All rational thought that he would and has in the past employed the same tactic in the past was forgotten. "You're surrounded and have no chance." "Why?" "Because insects are everywhere, and I have already drained half your chakra. Hand us our comrade and the scroll, and we'll let you leave alive." Shino spoke coldly, bluffing about the insects, and knowing less than a third of the boy's chakra was gone. Hideo felt woozy and noticed the vermin on him, sucking away his chakra. Mari was unconscious and gasping for air, most likely a nicked lung the culprit. Hideo was pissed at himself and his team but knew his sensei would kill him if he let pride kill a teammate. "Akiko," he spat. The silent boy tossed the scroll with little emotion and lifted up Mari. Akamaru was dropped unceremoniously on the ground, but no one reacted. The boys prepared for the Konoha scum to attempt to finish them off. However, they were allowed to pass, and the last team of Iwa raced in the direction of the tower, tails between their legs. Shino let out a breath he didn't know he was holding before turning to Kiba with a scary look on his face. "Kiba." The Inuzuka gulped as Shino glared. "We will talk about this later." Hinata was released from the wire, and they set off silently. Hinata stewed about her moment of courage while Kiba cradled a now awake Akamaru. "And Shino?" His eyebrows were raised when a scouting ally brought back the chakra of a very familiar blonde that was apparently in the trees the entire time, along with an interesting description. "Izumaki-san, just what are you doing wearing an ANBU uniform? Back in the trees?" Clueless about the Ibarame discovering his secret yet proud about his former classmates' performances, Naruto sent a wave to Hawk as the two squads parted paths, Rose still on patrol while Hawk shadowed the higher SS team to the tower. Tenzo looked mighty pleased when he informed them they had won the bet, and that they would be voting on the mission Hawk would take over the next squad dinner. "I vote Tora." Hikari signed. Naruto nodded with a vicious smile behind his masks. He had been meaning to teach Tora-chan how to make clones. "First, that's so mundane. Second, we're on duty," Tenzo signed in reprimand. "Hi Takeo, apologies," Naruto signed back sheepishly. Looking at the sky as they continued on, the blonde was pleased they had a mere 9 hours left of this monotony. Deep in T&I. Dragon didn't allow a tear to escape his mask as Kakashi slept on the cot, blissfully unaware that he was in front of family. Soon he'd wake up with his curse seal deactivated courtesy of the same methods Dragon employed on Sai all those months ago, but for now Dragon was left to his thoughts. The night of the Uchiha massacre was not one Shizui wished to recall. Having been recovering from his battle and the subsequent farce of a suicide, Shizui hadn't been there during the bloodbath. But he was there in the morgue amongst the mutilated bodies, some so charred on the face that only later would DNA reveal their identities. The babies and children had been the worst, and Shizui had thought they were the victims of the second killer, as Itachi would never burn children. Shizui remembered that night, crying over the tiny bodies while the Hokage kept the room free of any prying eyes. Kakashi and his little sister Suki were often left in Shizui's care while their father plotted in the elder meetings, not even Shizui was privy to. He changed their diapers, taught a 4-year-old Kakashi how to hold a kunai, and thought about them if he didn't see them at least once a month. Their deaths were a black mark on the commander's soul that he carried around constantly. It was a wedge in his heart, and one of the many reasons he carried on living. No child would die like that again. But now Shizui faced the possibility that Suki along with the other Uchiha children were alive and brainwashed by Danzo. Danzo was slated for death, but now it would be thousands of times worse. Kakashi began stirring and Shizui prepared to steel his nerves. He knew the Sharingan would be used, and thus prepared for an exercise in restraint against killing the Warhawk that plagued him for 5 years. 5 infinite, gut-wrenching years. "Kakashi Uchiha," Shizui said in a bored tone. The boy gave a glare. "Ooh, the famous Uchiha glare. I'm shaking in my mask. I won't talk," Kakashi snapped in a surprising show of emotion that proved he was taken too late for Danzo's full emotional conditioning program. "TSK. I'm sure you wouldn't if you had a choice. The thing is, however." Kakashi gazed into the now active Mangekyo Sharingan, completely in a daze. "You don't have a say in the matter." For the next 4 hours Shizui would hear exactly what was happening in Danzo's innermost circle of darkness. Team 7's quarters. Sasuke, Sakura and Sai sat in silence, though all for different reasons. Angel was napping Sakura's lap after claiming Naruto was on duty in the tower at the girl's question. Sai was silent as he contemplated what happened in the forest. The ambush, his willingness to die for his team, and the Sharingan. Sai knew he was lucky Hikari-sensei showed up, or else he and possibly Sasuke and Sakura would be dead. These past months had shown Sai that life wasn't a canvas of black lines that led him from mission to mission for Danzo-sama. Instead, it was shades of pink and fists, of blue and bad attitudes, of silver and tardiness, and of every shade Sai could think of that blurred together in a beautiful mess that represented his life now. With new resolve, Sai swore to himself to make sure that mess never disappeared. He'd protect his team, his friends, and never go back to that shell of a person he was. Sasuke, meanwhile, was caught on his former classmate Naruto. The pair was never close. Sasuke had even attacked him in a stupid rage months ago. Of course, Sasuke's problem with the blonde originated in the academy. At the beginning of the academy, Sasuke and Naruto were in separate classes. Naruto was foolish, but brilliant. His pranks on the instructor were legendary, yet his grades were rumored to be abysmal despite his loud claims that he did his homework correctly. Sasuke would grumble at how carefree the boy seemed while he struggled to bring his father pride. When they were merged into one class, Sasuke took to ignoring the orphan idiot as he was called. Then, that night happened. And afterwards, Sasuke was alone. He would see the blonde walk by him with a wave or arrive at his desk to find Naruto trying to rope him into a prank. Of course, Sasuke always ignored him with a vengeance. Graduating Sasuke was joy to find Naruto wasn't on his team, even if Sai freaked him out more than Sakura's fantasies. Sasuke remembers the first time he saw Naruto in ANBU gear. Not that he realized it at the time was the moment Sasuke realized how little age seemed to matter power-wise. No longer was his brother a god that none could reach. And when Sasuke had his tail whipped by Naruto, the supposed desk shinobi, he realized that beginnings meant nothing, that even an orphan dead last could soar. Of course he hated Naruto for a long time, as he wasn't soaring nearly as high. The night Naruto broke into his apartment to give the friendly advice about his name, Sasuke still hated him. Hated that he never seemed to leave the village yet effortlessly destroyed him. Hated that on diplomatic missions Naruto led them around like puppies. Hated that the boy 6 months younger than him was 3 times more mature and powerful just weeks after graduation. But then Naruto became the ANBU from all those months ago. He was someone who protected them. Now, Sasuke didn't know what to feel. Hatred was gone, that he knew. Even if Naruto wasn't a friend, Sasuke knew he wasn't a pesky worm under his skin. Naruto had become a comrade. While the two males in the room had emotional revelations, Sakura was utterly confused. She was told rather bluntly that what happened after she was knocked out by something, her memory was fuzzy, was a village secret. She was forbidden from asking anyone about it. That made the brilliant medic curious. And a curious kunoichi was a dangerous kunoichi, as Sakura's mother would say. With a determined look, Sakura decided she'd figure out what had happened in the forest that made Sasuke look contemplative and Sai determined. After she kicked everyone's ass and became a chunin, of course. Then her boys would spill their secrets. Team Kumo. Meanwhile, Yuzu Otosuchi was having a bad day. It began with her stupidly getting separated from her friends when a giant snake barreled through her team, separating them. When she awoke and started searching for Taro and Saki, she came into a clearing that was completely demolished. A bloody, but intact scroll made it worthwhile though. However, her search for her team led her to the Suna team, the one with the psycho red head. Yuzu had been warned by her uncle to stay away from him before the exams, but seeing her friend surrounded by sand stopped all reason from reaching her brain. With a lightning-charged kunai, she aimed for a headshot at the red head that was choking Saki slowly. When the sand protected the monster, who now wore a manic grin, Yuzu gulped. That gulp was her last action before sand created a coffin around her form and crushed her. She never even got to scream. The only comfort was Taro and Saki, who followed their teammate to the afterlife barely a second later. Their lost souls would have grave consequences. Sand team after Gaara's slaughter. Temurai gulped as Gaara killed the beloved niece of the former Raikage and member of the current Raikage's extended family. When Gaara left the bodies in the sand, not bothering to destroy the evidence and ordered them to leave them, Temurai knew that it would come to bite them later. She only hoped she could get out of the way before it did. Back with Ro after the exams. While technically off duty as the second phase was ended and Hawk had picked up the corpses of the dead genin teams, every shinobi in the building not taking the exams were on the ceiling beams to watch the matchup process for round 3. Even Deidara, still not talking much with side effects from his battle, was there. Naruto noticed Tenzo ordered him to go to the hospital immediately after. However, 12 genin, 6 matchups in the first round. Normally a preliminary would be called, but with most of the candidates being konoha genin, the Hokage had decided to make an exception and put time limits on the final phase first rounds. 10 minutes to knock your opponent out or you both get disqualified. Naruto listened in amusement as the Hokage gave the made-up, albeit true reason for the time limit that most shinobi battles lasted mere moments, and that drawing a fight out too long led to an early death. More like death by boredom for the spectators, Naruto mused. Kurama snorted in agreement. Throwing shade at the exam, I see. The fox commented. Naruto huffed and ignored the Bajoa. Instead he looked down at the genin drawing numbers. The first round has been decided through complete randomness. Hayate, the chosen proctor, stressed when Sakura mentioned it could be rigged to be unfair. Even though it was totally rigged, Konoha would deny it to the genin. Naruto was actually the one to help Jiraiya come up with the seal that let the Hokage preload which number ball a drawer would pull. First match, Hinata Hyuga v Sakura Haruo. Second match, Kiba Inuzuka v Rock Lee. Third match, Kankuro no Sabaku v Shinoa Barame. Fourth match, Tenten v Temurai no Sabaku. Fifth match, Neji Hyuga v Sai. Sixth match, Gaara no Sabaku v Sasuke Uchiha. We will see you in exactly 1 month. Your senseus will have more information. May the will of fire burn brightly in you all. At the last name, Sasuke sighed even as the Suna genin gave quizzical looks, not realizing an Uchiha was in the exams. The plan to keep him off the radar for the survival portion worked, it seemed. However, Sasuke was rather glad he could wear his clan crest again, especially since the only foreigners were their allies in Suna. Nothing to worry about. While the various genin were fretting over their match-ups and following their senseus back to the village, the ANBU were already making bets on the outcomes. I bet 1 month's rent that Shino throttles Kankuro Hawk wagered. Hikaru laughed. And I bet a free special order of seals courtesy of Chibi Koha that Sai beats my cousin. Hikari countered. Everyone gaped at the Hyuga betting against his family. However, Naruto gaped for a different reason. You moron, don't make me bartering chip. He growled and whacked his senpai on the head. Yugao smacked Naruto for talking aloud and Deidara accidentally poked Naruto in the side. Tenzo just sweat dropped at his team before motioning for them to leave. Finally, the next day, Naruto's apartment. Waking up to silence was a beautiful thing. Guy and Kakashi were out of the village training their teams. Jiraiya was meetings all day, Angel was with Dragon for some special assignment, and Tenzo gave the entire team the day off. Deidara was in the hospital for minor chakra exhaustion and an allergic reaction to the antivenom, ensuring a stress-free day. Life was beautiful in Naruto's book. Dressed in his off-duty attire, the blonde strolled to the door of his apartment for a mid-morning walk. Grabbing his key, Naruto opened the door, already activating his security seals and ready for a relaxing day of hot springs and reading. Naruto ni. A pleasant voice greeted him. Naruto blinked as he closed his door and looked down to see Momo. Along with Konohamaru and his friends, all 4 of them covered in paint with sheepish looks. Momo, what the heck happened? Naruto asked, dumbfounded, and worried about the girl not being in classes. Well, you see. She began with a gulp. Save us from Uruka. Konohamaru butted in and latched himself onto Naruto's leg. He proceeded to rant about some prank gone wrong that led to Uruka's test papers being ruined, and the 4 of them running for their lives. Naruto sighed and repressed a groan. He personally only talked to the boy a couple of times and didn't mind him, but the brat was bugging him on his day off and ruining his comfy pants. A chain wrapped itself around each child and lifted them to eye level. Now, anyone want to explain why I'm being assaulted on my day off by chibis? Naruto said in a scary voice while letting a light illuminate his face mask. All 4 gulped and wondered if running to Naruto was a good idea, even if they were desperate. Chapter 30. With Naruto, outside his apartment. Naruto watched in amusement as the 4 chibis squirmed, Konohamaru then realizing something. Hey, you're that ANBU from forever ago that let me call you boss. And that meanie from the Academy trap course. Konohamaru blurted out and fluidly pointed at him. Naruto felt his eye twitching, not particularly enjoying the memory of that day. Flashback within 4 months of Naruto joining Ro. Sitting in a tree watching the honorable grandson skip out on private tutoring was not Naruto's idea of a good time. Sure, being stuck with Ebisu sucked, but Naruto resented being assigned this farce of a mission after Hikaru blamed him for clogging the locker room toilets at HQ. Worse yet was that Dragon-sama knew it was Hikaru's doing but said Naruto needed to connect with the next generation or something. Naruto decided to use the mission time to attempt to draw a seal that would make Dragon-sama pick someone else to bother. Thankfully clones and Angel meant Naruto got to rest in the shade instead of in the muggy spring sunlight. Konohamaru kept being a brat and making Angel grow so he could ride her. The poor hellcat just wanted to nap away the heat. Oi, quit picking on Angel, brat. She's an ANBU animal, not some pet you can order around. Naruto ordered, his glare hidden by his mask, but tone conveying his feelings perfectly. Konohamaru huffed. Tsk, what you going to do about it? I'm the third Hokage's grandson and you're just an ANBU. You have to listen to what I say. Ha. I only answer to my superior shinobi officers and the Hokage, of which you are neither. Naruto scoffed. Well, you still should listen to me. Especially since I'm going to be Hokage one day. The academy student tried to release killing intent to look intimidating. Not with that attitude you're not. Do you even know what a Hokage does? Of course I do. A Hokage is the strongest in the village and kicks other people's butts and is loved by all, Konohamaru replies instantly. Naruto rolls his eyes, realizing the boy was like he used to be. Not really, no. Sure, a Hokage is loved and respected for their accomplishments, but they do more than just kick people's butts. A Hokage sacrifices everything. They are the last to celebrate a victory and the first casualty to protect the village. They love everyone who is loyal to our village, from the tiniest newborn to the most senile elder. However, a Hokage would sacrifice any one of these people for the greater good, and still force themselves to be human. Do you love as a Hokage does? Do you have a heart of steel that loves unconditionally? With each sentence, Naruto felt his conviction steel, felt his loyalty to his cage deepen. How could he judge a man that sacrificed everything and still saw the light? Naruto knew he would never be a Hokage, even if he felt he could make those sacrifices, and that he wouldn't want to be. Konohamaru, however, only looked readier for the hat. I do. I promise I will be the best Hokage ever, and protect the village even better than my grandfather. Then I look forward to serving under you, Konohamaru Sarutobi. Naruto said with warmth. Angel nodded along, still not completely understanding what was happening, and decided to take a nap. Konohamaru ignored her. Why, you said my name, he said in awe. Naruto cocked an eyebrow. Yes. Why wouldn't I? Nobody does. Jiji named me after the village, but everyone calls me honorable grandson, or ignores me. Here the child shuffled under Naruto's intense gaze. Naruto held it, before scoffing. Well, I'm not just anybody, I'm ANBU Agent Mouse. Keep making your own path, and I'm sure the whole world will know the name of Konohamaru. Really? Konohamaru asked with tears. Naruto nodded. I like you. You can be my boss, and teach me more than Ebisu. And nini was heard throughout the village as a panicked echo. End flashback. Yes, a touching moment it was, until the brat decided to pester him for training. It took Naruto volunteering for a solo escort mission to River Country to get the brat off his trail. Those couple of weeks of Konohamaru somehow tracking the ANBU down everywhere except his home were hell. And now the heathen knew where he lived, courtesy of his precious, almost sister Momo. The girl had the audacity to smile sweetly at him too. Realizing he was staring off into space, Naruto cleared his throat. And if you brats ever reveal my identity or try to prank my apartment, I will follow Code 542. The blonde said gravely. The four gulped. See Code 542? Udon questioned shakily. Naruto nodded gravely and used his best acting read, lying skills to the test. Yes, a serious ANBU rule. See, when someone reveals who we are, us ANBU have to put them through a Yamanaka mind wipe. It's too bad that mind wiping only one memory is difficult, and as such the Yamanaka have to wipe large sections of memory. You don't want to end up like poor Hikari Hyuga, do you? Hikari Hyuga? Mogi asked. Momo narrowed her eyes at Naruto but grinned when he winked. Yes, poor Hikaru. He used to be like every other Hyuga, stiff, boring, and a genius. But then he blabbed to his mother someone's ANBU identity. Now he's worse than an Energizer bunny on crack and thinks cockroaches make good ninja pets. Do you four want to end up like poor little Hikari? No. Was the three terrified and one amused response. Good. Now what's this about the tests? Momo, you're 3 years ahead of them as well. Momo gulped. Well, Konoha here failed minus. Barely. Was said boy's indignant defense. Yes, barely failed his village history test again. This is his 4th failed test of the term, so Uruka-sensei would have to have a parent-teacher conference. Which would be with Hokage-sama since Konoha doesn't have parents, Naruto finished with a sigh. The tiny Fuinjutsu user nodded shyly. Yes, Ni-san. So he had me help make paint seals so he could make the tests unreadable. Then, Uruka-sensei would have to give a retest. I agreed if he would study this time. I didn't think Uruka-sensei would get so mad at them, and then Konoha dragged us out and I got scared, so I ran to you. Momo finished in a rush. The other 3 looked down in shame. The blonde softened his gaze. Well, I'm sure Uruka-sensei will still punish you, but I won't take you to him. You won't. Konoha shouted. Naruto shook his head. You're the best, boss. Boss. Momo and the others saluted while still hanging. I won't be taking you there personally, as I don't want to spend my off day being tied to whatever punishment you all receive. Naruto said, knowing that somehow he would be blamed seeing as he was the one to have taught Momo the paint tags and more advanced Fuinjutsu. No, I will be taking you to the hospital where I know my dear friend Yugao is. She'll be taking you to Uruka. Naruto relished the looks of betrayal, but knew it was necessary to have Yugao and Uruka scare the daylights out of them. These 4 didn't realize how fortunate they were not to be sabotaged throughout the academy to be able to graduate on their own merit, and not someone else's heinous plot. Naruto would ensure they didn't do something so stupid again. The prank was fine, as it built shinobi skills. The covering up of the failed test was not, however. Cheating didn't exist in the shinobi world, but the academy was where one learned the right way to learn, one not reliant on underhanded tactics. It built work ethic and honor in one's accomplishments. So, Naruto would gift the children his cruel lesson in life. Even if they were adorable when they called him boss. 10 minutes later of carrying the still-bound Chibis, Naruto arrived in the hospital through the back door and located Yugao walking out of a room with Hayate, who was getting a standard checkup on his lungs. Senpais. The blonde called, getting the attention of his superiors. Hayate waved while Yugao smiled slightly. Naruto, you've picked up some strays. Yugao chuckled. Naruto I smiled and plopped the kids without ceremony in front of his dear senpai. Well yes, see? These brats set off paint bombs in the academy, and I need you to take them to Uruka-sensei for punishment. Wait. Naruto. Thanks senpai, knew I could count on you, but now I gotta go. Naruto saluted, and used his shunshuns to escape the woman. He had a shadow clone stick around as a fly to see the woman focus her entire killing intent on the brats who cost her an hour of her day off. 5 minutes later, Naruto cracked up as he made his way towards Deidara's room, figuring a short visit would be nice. You're rather vicious today. You do know that Catwoman will gut us for this, right? Kurama deadpanned from the seal. You may have a death wish, but I personally hate reforming. PSHH, you worry too much. It was worth it. The village awaits an adventure of relaxation. Naruto thought back with giddiness, his first real day off in forever, and he wouldn't let anyone ruin it. Then the negative emotion at the end of the hall Deidara's room made him sober up. Shoot, what now? Naruto muttered mentally while already unsealing his sword and sharpening it with wind chakra. He sent a shadow clone to alert the supposed ANBU guards. Technically Deidara was supposed to be in the ANBU and Jonin ward, but had been moved when the Iwa teen was placed in it for security purposes. Be careful, that annoyance has a Jonin level chakra signature angry at him. Thanks, Kurama. 3 feet to the door. I'll shunshin in and come in quietly if you want the traitor to live, a distinctly feminine voice ordered. Naruto sucked in his breath and burst into the room. The Iwa Jonin, the one Naruto was warned to stay away from, had Deidara tied up using the sheets and a kunai at his throat. He ignored Deidara's eyes that screamed to get away and chose to focus on the fact a foreign kunoichi had managed to somehow get past the ANBU on the floor of her students and discover his teammate. Iwa nin, stand down immediately. Naruto barked. The woman grinned viciously. Nah, and why should I brat? It can't be because of this traitor here who spits on his parents' graves by joining your cesspool of a village. There's another kunai stuck in his femoral artery and preventing him from bleeding out. It can't be my students, as they are ready to use the suicide jutsu I taught them to blow your hospital sky high. And it can't be you. I can sense the demonic chakra, but I've dealt with Jinchuriki before, kid, and you stand no chance. Now I'm going to take this bastard back to Iwa and you're not going to stop me, or else kiss everyone in this place goodbye, she taunted, holding a hand sign with the kunai hand, though the gain of Deidara not being at knife point was moot when the hand sign made his blood chill. Naruto knew that move. It was one ANBU on the most classified missions used if their teammate was caught and couldn't kill themselves due to being incapacitated, resulting in a very large explosion of flesh. First, the one who volunteered would have a seal drawn on a tiny scroll that would be injected into their bodies, usually the base of the neck. Then, it would be linked to one person who could set it off. Ultimate trust was needed for the jutsu to work, as both parties had to be willing. As far as Naruto knew, it hadn't been used in Konoha since before Kurama's attack, and wouldn't be used again if Dragon had any say in it. At least, that's what the commander claimed when he told Naruto about having to use it during the Third Shinobi War on a comrade who was like a sister to him to prevent Konoha's involvement in some mystery mission. It was the only time the blonde ANBU had heard such palatable guilt in his commander. Where most other emotions would seem muffled, that guilt was suffocating. The jutsu disgusted both Bijoa and Jinchuriki. Naruto's eyes flashed red. You monster. Using that on Genin. Kurama's chakra laced his own voice before being reined in. Naruto noticed the hesitation in her eyes as she no doubt struggled with the thought of combusting her students, and Naruto capitalized on it. He used Kawarimi with the IV drip to get right next to the semi-conscious Deidara and swung his blade down at an angle that would take off the Jonin's hands, yet not touch his friend and quasi-roommate. The Jonin shined away, switching places with Naruto, who now had a clone trying to cauterize the other blonde's femoral artery. He spared a quick thanks to his foresight in paying for those medical lessons all those months ago. Tsuke, Uwa will demand Konoha's blood for this. She spat. Naruto stared impassively. Kurama? Think she'll go through with killing her genin? Naruto thought desperately so he could formulate a plan. I don't know. Her chakra signature is fluctuating between determination and uncertainty. Brat, take her down before we find out. The ANBU agent blinked at the ordered, but hardened his eyes. Why do you protect that bastard anyways, huh? He, a brat who had everything after his parents died, betrayed everyone. I was the one to convince the Tsukikage to let the child become his apprentice, and now my own village thinks I'll go crazy like him. He's a traitor, a freak with that bloodline. Deidara will only stab you in the back if you let him. The Jonin started ranting. Clearly she was not stable, and viewed this as a messed up way to regain her honor. Deidara is not an Iwa traitor anymore, but a valued Konoha comrade. Naruto shot back. Deidara, who was waking up, widened his eyes along with the woman he now learned had a connection to his family. Fishcake. Leave. She's famous in Iwa for being able to subdue both Jinchuriki at once with her underhanded tactics despite being slower and less powerful than most Chunin. I'm not worth it. Not after what I did to my old village. Shut up. Yes you are. Just because you blew up some buildings to mask your escape buildings I know you made sure would be as empty as possible and didn't agree with the Tsukikage's policies doesn't make you worth leaving to die for. You're my friend Deidara. Everyone makes mistakes and you've paid for yours already. Now, shut up and let me handle it. And me, Hikara's deadly voice spoke from the doorway. Don't forget us. Yugao and Hayate landed on the bed from the ceiling, having heard everything. Naruto didn't know it, but Kurama had sensed all of them, but chose to not say anything in favor of watching his friend demonstrate his loyalty. Hey, we want to join the party too. Team Hawk and Beta chirped, surrounding them. And finally us. Thanks for letting me know about the little explosive scrolls. Too bad for you, I have ways of finding it. Dragon idly drawled with Angel on his shoulder, both looking rather bloody. Dragon wouldn't tell his subordinate this, but when his bird informed him of Deidara's predicament, but that Mouse was already headed to stop it, he had decided to observe as he was already at the hospital to heal his shoulder. The damn root agents he took out attempting to snoop for Takashi's location were able to capitalize on his sleep-deprived and distracted state. Thankfully Angel was there as an effective distraction, even if her real mission was to follow the trail and confirm one of Danzo's many bases throughout Konoha. So far, Dragon had mapped out 15 of the rumored 20 and Angel had been instrumental in the last 2, even if she was ticked about keeping it from her partner. Deidara looked wide-eyed at his friend's family. He decided who would willingly stay despite the risk and blinked away tears. Nobody had ever been so loyal, seeing him either as a maniacal creep for his bloodline, or a tool for their own political purposes. However, here his family was, even knowing what could happen, one slight twitch in her chakra could cause the explosion. Maybe, but you can't disarm it without surgery. Killing me automatically starts the reaction, and killing them now would cause you to go to war you can't win. Either way, Iwa will crush you. No, but this works. Mouse if you would. Dragon murmured the last bit into his student's ear. Naruto used a shunshin to appear inside the Jonin's defenses, who found herself unable to move from one of the Andonara's shadow possession. She couldn't speak due to a sudden shadow strangle creeping up her neck in a threatening manner. Naruto, before she could blink to process this, knocked her out with a roundhouse kick to the head. Using a kick mid-air after a shunshin took skill, and the blonde was tempted to preen as the woman who threatened his village and friends crumpled to the floor after the Nara let her go. Silence reigned for 3 seconds before Hikara and the head ANBU medic, a younger ANBU called Deer who took over after his predecessor wanted to retire, started working on closing Deidara's wound completely. And that's why you should never play with your food, children. Do so, and you risk not completing your mission. Dragon said sagely. Dragon-sama, you think Iwa will confess to this? Naruto asked dubiously. Well, unlike the Hyuga incident, we have live prisoners to question. Time to let a Yamanaka suck them dry, and let the council decide what to do. Deer. The commander barked. Hi. Deer chirped while making sure Deidara was all the way healed and handing Hikara a packet on the additional care needed. Go take care of our exploding genin, if you would please. Yes, Commander. And Deer left in a fervor, already using an intercom to gather more surgeons. Everyone stood awkwardly. Well, quit standing around like academy students. Hawk, take your squad, and Viper's squad back to hospital duty. Cat, take your boyfriend with you to watch after those academy brats. We can't let any visitors think children run rampant. Wolf, Get Fox back to your apartment, and wait to report to me there. He doesn't look injured enough for a hospital bed. Everyone's sweat dropped at Dragon's assumption, but complied. And Mouse. Naruto gulped, but steeled himself, already imagining having to do his commander's paperwork, or make more seals on his day off. Go to room 326 until 5 p.m., Angel will be your apartment. By Naruto. Angel chirped mischievously. Naruto narrowed his eyes, but quickly left to fulfill the strange order. 3 minutes later. Naruto opened the door slowly, ignoring Kurama's loud laughter. As soon as the door opened, a to-go bowl of ikirakus hit him in the face. There you are, Baka. Now get in here, I've been waiting to eat for like an hour. There, sitting on the bed surrounded by dozens of ramen bowls, was Yakumo Kurama. The heiress looked him in the eye before snickering. Naruto's blush was legendary as he looked the smile the girl gave him, feeling his heart racing at her giggle. Why Yakumo? What are you doing here? Naruto said after Yakumo got up and dragged the tomato-faced boy to sit in the chair next to her bed. They have me in a bunker with lots of moisture. I got pneumonia, but I'm almost better. Yakumo explained while flexing her toothpick arms as proof. Soon I'll be better, and you can help me be a ninja. With your skin? Please, it's so white it would light up the room for enemies. Naruto joked. Yakumo huffed good-naturedly. Well, at least I'm not so short that clients think I'm an academy student. Was her retort, exaggerating the fact she was slightly taller than him now. Why you? One day I'll tower over everyone and then you'll be sorry. Even the QB? Even him? He jumped up and pumped his fist in the air. Soon conversation devolved into giggling between friends. Naruto sighed. It was indeed a great day off. Hours passed and Yakumo fell asleep, as talking so much still made her tired. Mind telling me how you almost had the hospital blown up? Tenzo spoke from the window suddenly. That made the blonde gulp. Maybe this wasn't quite the perfect day. Chapter 31. Outside Konoha walls 2 days before the exams. Naruto leapt from tree to tree, not appreciating the last-minute preparations that fell to him. Why Drea didn't tell him weeks ago that the western forest needed extra traps for their visitors he would never know, but the toad sage had his ire. Waking up before dawn on his supposed day off before their last checks tomorrow was not the blonde's idea of fun. At least the sunrise was nice. Naruto bounded up the tallest tree in the area, breathing in the fresh morning air. In 2 days it would be coppery, smelling of death, misery, war. The genin on the training grounds, including Sasuke, whose yell could be heard as Kakashi-senpai continued to kick him around, were clueless to the battles ahead. That could have been me, Kurama. I could have ended up just like them, naive to what was happening. Naruto mentally mused. He heard a disgruntled snort. Must you be so loud, runt? I was sleeping away Shikaku's stench. Is that really something you can sleep off though? He cheekily replied. A roar loud enough to jolt him from the branch was his partner's response. Naruto was glad he could still have humor, knowing there was a large chance he wouldn't be able to for a long while. Casualties in war were common after all. ANBU and genin, the top and bottom in ranks, had the highest chance of not making it out of an invasion unscathed. One, because their higher skills demanded them face off against a horde of enemies, and the other because they were the weak links to exploit. I promise, I'll do what I can to protect you all. The blonde ANBU vowed, gaze steeled on his village. Annoyance at the early morning was gone, replaced by protective instincts. Kurama snorted as his host headed to the headquarters with a plan to make yet another batch of seals. The fox didn't say anything though, as without them Naruto would be a nervous mess not fitting of a Jinchuriki. Naruto, you've made 15 explosive seals in the last hour for each ANBU agent, please stop. You need rest. Yugao had been called in by Hawk, who was frankly freaked out at the speed and intensity of their koha. Normally Dragon, or the other members of Ro would deal with it, But their commander had just nodded approvingly at Mouse, and Yugao was the only free member of their squad. "I'm fine, Yugao-senpai," he protested. "No, Naruto, you're not. Otherwise you wouldn't still be here at 10 p.m. when you got here at what time again?" "Before 6 am," Ha quipped. "Exactly. Now come back for some dinner and sleep, or I'll knock you out myself," Yugao warned. Naruto sighed. "Fine. It's just, what if we lose? We've had months to prepare and our forests are death traps. How exactly would we lose?" This made Naruto just sag further. "No, I mean, what about our squad? You and Hikari-senpai have to stay near wherever the Hokage is. Teiko is helping Dragon-sama on the main wall, and that just leaves Deidara, and what if one of us doesn't make it back? Or the Genin, or even Hokage-sama?" All valid fears, Yugao realized. Naruto had never lost a squad member, never saw one of his academy peers stare glossy-eyed at the sky. He never had someone close to him fall for the greater good. And that could change so easily in this invasion. Or the war sure to follow. Not to mention Naruto himself had a high probability of death from fighting the Suna Jinchuriki. He may have 15 extra scrolls of water, leading Dragon-sama to cover up why the local hot springs were missing their supply and chakra chains, but what use were those when a lucky kunai to the heart could end it all? Konoha's Jinchuriki may be an unknown entity, as they liked it, but that didn't make him any less of a target. And he would be fighting the trump card, with orders to either capture or eliminate. The Shinobi Council made it clear that if he was able to cripple or kill Gaara, they'd be very proud, and that failure would be most disappointing for a Jinchuriki. In other words, Naruto had to win. Not only for the village, but as a show of loyalty. And with the squad unexpectedly split up, it rested more on his shoulders. They've known this from day one of planning. But now it was here. She expected her Koha one she's had the privilege to train, and see as family a nervous mess. And he was. Until the glazed look indicating he was talking to the beast within happened, and he laughed. "Kurama says to just be glad we get to let loose and go eat ramen." Yugao snorted and pulled out her sword. "So you listen to the furball and not your favorite senpai?" She unleashed killing intent in teasing. "Ah no. Not at all. Gotta scram." Using his chain of shunshuns and hint of demonic chakra, he escaped the incoming sword. Left behind was a chuckling Perplet and rather confused Hawk. Meanwhile, under Konoha. In less than 2 days Konoha will fall, and up will arise a darker one fit to overthrow the nations. A one-eyed warhawk looked over his ranks critically. Many had gone missing or died when 15 bases were struck within a span of 36 hours. Then, they stopped with no indication of the perpetrators except remnants of weapons commonly found everywhere, and lightning chakra. If he didn't know better, Danzo would have thought Sarutobi finally grew a spine to eliminate him, or that Takeshi turned on him. Neither would make sense though, especially as his spies reported Anby keeping the boy sedated with plans to have Jiraiya crack the seal after the invasion. By then the boy would be back where he belonged. Nevertheless, to make sure there wasn't a different spy, they moved the survivors to the most secure base, one only those involved with the Neo Uchiha clan knew about, and didn't allow anyone to leave. Soon though root would rise with the fall of the diseased leaves. "Remember your orders, wait until Konoha forces defeat the invasion, and then anyone who opposes us is to be taken out. While Orochimaru and Sarutobi murder each other, I will personally face the commander if he interferes. On my signal, take the lesser ANBU out in the post-invasion chaos. Once I'm Hokage, we go to war with the lesser villages." For Konoha. Danzo's cane echoed throughout the cavern as hundreds of masked shinobi knelt from the ceiling. A flick of the wrist sent them all away, off to prepare for the spoils of war. All he thought about, however, were targets to take out. Sai the traitor. Naruto, Uzumaki to be reprogrammed. Dragon, the insufferable nuances. Hiruzen, his oldest friend and biggest regret at failing to assassinate him decades prior. Konoha would be saved, Danzo vowed. even if he had to burn it to the ground completely and start again. None noticed the crow poofing out of existence, having a location to verify with his master. Day of the invasion, pre-dawn, ANBU HQ. Dragon looked over his men and women, knowing some of the masks he saw would not be with them when the dusk settled. Heck, he might not be here depending on how the destruction of Root went. But that didn't matter. For they were Konoha shinobi, the best of them too. Squads Gamma and Slug were stocked to the max on medical supplies and guerrilla warfare weapons. Deer was on standby for the Hokage's or ANBU's needs, even if Dragon wished it wouldn't be. Hawk and his squad were leading 5 others in the stadium defenses. Multiple battalions would aid the Chunin and Jonin in village protection, as well as making sure the forests remained death traps. And then there was Ro. The squad knee-deep in everything this invasion stood for. Tenzao would be with him to slaughter Root, Kakashi joining them. Yugao and Hikaru had their own assignments unique to their skills. Then the 2 newest ANBU and Hellcat with the largest role, stopped the Jinchuriki of Shikaku from unleashing itself on the village. Intel suggested it would try to do so in the forests outside, meaning their youngest Koha were likely on their own against unknown forces. Dragon was certain they'd succeed. He did train them, after all. This would be Naruto's first assignment that Dragon didn't have a summons following, but Deidara and Angel should prove to be adequate backup. If not, he'd eat his mask. Our objective is simple, ensuring the Odo-Suna alliance fails. But, just as important, come back alive. Dragon paused to let that weight settle. If I find out you laid down your life, and there were any other options available to accomplish our objective, I will resurrect you myself and use your ghost as a training partner for a decade. This is not a battle for glory, but a tragic event to show what happens when you mess with Konoha. It's not about your honor, it's about keeping the village safe. Is that clear? Yes, Dragon-sama. Rang out in HQ. Ever since Dragon came into power, ANBU became a well-oiled machine with fewer casualties. But war made the younger shinobi do stupid things that led to unnecessary death. Dying to save your comrade from certain death was one thing. Dying because you rushed in like a rookie drunk on bloodlust was another. Dragon had seen too many shinobi die to stupidity during the Third Great Shinobi War. He refused to let his men join those ranks. A comfortable silence latched onto the room until the commander snapped. What are you waiting for? An invitation? Go, before I use your lazy asses as a shield. Seconds later the room was empty save Tenzao, who just gave a respectful nod. It was time to bath the great tree in blood once again. With Naruto and Deidara. 2 masks, a fox and a mouse hung upside down from the stadium's guard tower ceiling completely concealed a shinobi cat joining them along with dozens of summons. Deidara was stewing, waiting with clay bombs to make art out of Konoha's invaders. He knew this was a sort of test, a final show to see if he was loyal when push came to shove. The older blonde swore to not disappoint the Hokage or commander. Naruto was planning with Kurama. Neither would accept a loss, though only one wanted to kill the host. The other sat in conflict, hoping it wouldn't come to that. If he could take the other Jinchuriki out quickly, he could focus on what he really wanted to do, protect his home at the front lines. Both ANBU, regardless of their thoughts, gazed at their target, the trump card of the enemy. Gaara no Sabaku. Fellow Jinchuriki and known psychopath. Currently standing in the sun listening to a carefully neutral Hayate give instructions for the upcoming battles. The first rounds will be 10-minute match-ups in the following order. First match, Hinata Hyuga v Sakura Haruo. Second match, Kiba Inuzuka v Rock Lee. Third match, Kankuro no Sabaku v Shinoa Barame. Fourth match, Tenten v Temurai no Sabaku. Fifth match, Neji Hyuga v Sai. Sixth match, Gaara no Sabaku v Sasuke Uchiha. If I say stop, you stop or I'll make you. Hayate coughed. Now, will everyone but Hinata Hyuga and Sakura Haruo leave for the contestant box? Naruto tuned the rest of the explanations out in favor of glancing over to the forest a ways behind them knowingly. A certain pair of chakra signatures flitted in and out of his range, one of which he knew all too well, like an old pain that never quite leaves. Things just got more interesting, the blonde mused with dread. For waiting like a mocking predator was none other than the crystal user that destroyed him and his summons all those months before. Looks like he was getting a rematch sooner than he thought. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video, as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.